Danielle, it's all yours.
Thanks, Dennis. Welcome to our guests, our audience. Thanks for joining us. We're here every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And as Dennis said already, tonight we have some of our popular talk show hosts here in the community, in the Liberian community, to discuss the current events and what's going on in Liberia and the diaspora. Our first guest tonight is George P. Lobbo Jr. He is a Liberian and an executive member of the Unity Party USA and Canada. Currently, he is the spokesman for the Darius Dillon campaign in the diaspora. He is in Arizona and has held several positions in the Liberian Association of Arizona. He is also the former president of the African Student Association at Arizona State University. Overall, he is a concerned Liberian who wants the best for his country and its people. He comes to advocate because of the love he has for his country. So, Mr. Lobbo, welcome, and thanks for joining us here on Focus on Liberia.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. Next, we have commonly known as Lady J, Ms. Jessica Jarry-Osterhout. She is a Liberian from Zeatown, Grangeda County. She is a daughter of one of Liberia's top former educators, philosophers, and philanthropists, Timothy Kudar Jarry, affectionately known as T. and a dietitian, Wede Jarry Tipeson. Jessica spent her first 13 years in Liberia and moved to Ghana in 1990 during the Liberian Civil War. In Ghana, she completed her secondary education and subsequently enrolled at the ABA University of Ghana, where she obtained a degree in marketing. In the early 2000s, Jessica moved to the United States and worked in the banking sector for a little over 10 years, and also worked as an employment counselor with a Liberian-owned NGO, African Assistance Program. Jessica currently has a degree in psychology and has been accepted at Grand Canyon University, where she will be studying counseling with especially in addictions and psychology. In the Liberian community, the name Jessica Osterhout is a household name because she has proven to be a role model of womanhood and an active voice for the voiceless. She has assumed and continues to assume several responsibilities in our community. Here are some of the current and past responsibilities. She is the she's the current board member of the Organization of Liberians in Minnesota, OLM, former chairperson representative to the Union of Liberian Associations in the Americas, also known as ULA, and the current general secretary, chief of staff of the Grangeda Associations of the Americas Minnesota chapter. That's just a few of the many positions she's held within the Liberian community and its organizations. So Jessica, welcome, and thanks for being here.
Thank
you. Okay, so to begin our show tonight, we'd like to just talk about both of you guys' platforms and when you come on air, and just what is the focus of your show. So we'll start with the Lady J. What is your show focused on and when does it air?
And before you come on, Lady J, we also want to mention that we have one more guest who's running late. That's Prince Sharif from Under the Palava Hut. Back to you.
Okay. All right. So thanks so much for inviting us to the show. I want to say hi to George. I look forward to discussing matters of importance with you today, with the other people that are going to join. It's nice meeting you. And I did a research on you, seeing that you're a really great son of the soil, and I just want to welcome you to the show as well. So thanks to the host, Dennis and Danielle, for having us on. My name is Jessica, commonly known as Lady J, and I do have about 3 shows that I run during the week, if time permits me to. My main show that I run is called Politics Hour, and that's on Tuesday. This is where we discuss matters of importance concerning the nation. And I open my lines to have people call in so that they can also express themselves pertaining to what happens in Liberia and how they feel, or what happens in the diaspora as well. On this show, I ask that people are cognizant of what everybody is saying, and they also be respectful, because I want to make sure that when my show is watched in the next 10 to 15 years, our children will be able to take something away from it, because it's a platform that, it's there to educate, is there to encourage, and is there to inform people about what's going on. So I try to make sure that the platform is free of insults, and we just discuss issues that are happening in our current time pertaining to Liberia. I also have another talk show called Let's Talk About It. This is more of things that are going on, current issues that are going on in the Liberian community that has popped up, and everybody's talking about it. I usually, talk about it during the week, and it can be any time of the week because these things pop up anytime. So when that situation happens, I pop on here and I talk about it. Sometimes I bring people on, sometimes it's just a monologue instead of a dialogue. And the last but not the least is a show I do in my studio called Lady J on the Mic. And this is entertainment, politics, anything that is trending. I speak about those things, and I sometimes have shows about, encouraging women, how to do certain things. I speak against domestic violence a lot, and I try to, encourage my sisters about what to do if they're in a domestic violent relationship and things like that. So those are the 3 shows that I have during the week.
Great. And thanks, Lady J. And we've just had our final guest join us. And so just to tell our audience a bit about Mr. Prince Sharif. Mr. Sharif, I believe your audio is out, so you can work on that while I give your introduction. Prince Sharif is a Liberian from Grand Cape Mount and Lofa, and he is a teacher by profession and is married with children. He was born in 1977 in Douala unto the union of Mr. and Mrs. Muhammad H. Sharif. He completed high school at J.J. Ross and enrolled at AMEU. He obtained an Associate of Education from TAP Teachers Training College, and he has obtained several certificates in management, leadership, and youth development, both nationally and internationally. He says the most unique thing about him is that he is a scout. He has served in several managerial positions ranging from assistant business manager, vice principal for student affairs, chairman of academic affairs, etc. He also has served as chief scout commissioner of the Liberia Scout Association and chairman for several youth organizations. And he states that he is a very religious member of the CDC and will forever be. So, Mr. Sharif, welcome and thanks for being here.
And Prince, you got to click the button to join with audio. Your audio is still off.
Okay. Well, while Mr. Sharif fixes that issue, we'll go back to you, George. Can you please tell us about your platform and when you air and what is the focus of your show, The Drive? George, are you there?
Yeah, I'm listening to you. I'll tell you a speak if you want to call me. Also, first and foremost, I want to begin by saying thanks to both hosts of this show. It's a privilege to be on Focus on Liberia today on a Liberian platform. My show is known as The Drive that is predicated on exposing government wrongdoing and not only exposing government wrongdoing, but also highlighting and offering solutions to government's problem, making recommendations from fiscal healthcare reform agenda. I come to the table on the drive to discuss issues ranging from injustices, rule of law, lack of accountability, transparency. The drive is usually comes on Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday at about 8:30 Mountain Standard Time. And so the drive is predominantly focused on government and its performance. As you know, that the government is responsible to fulfill its social contract to its people. And so we believe that as concerned Liberians, it is our obligation to inform our people when these things happen, to let them know what has happened. When we hear from the IMF, we go on the drive and take our time to break the news, and also not only break the news, but make it simpler so that every Liberian understand what it means. When the IMF is talking about GDP growth rate, when they're talking about future economic forecasts, when they're talking about inflation rate, we try to use the drive to be able to articulate what they mean so that our people, so that the Oma in Wesonga, in Zienzu, in Kolela, in Flumpa can understand what the IMF meant to say. When government does the right thing, we've also used the drive to be able to proffer and give government the credit when they've done the right thing. And when government have done the wrong thing, we've also used the drive to expose government corruption. As we will be doing here this morning, this afternoon, I'm grateful to be here to be able to talk about some of the things we talk about in the drive. Hopefully today on this platform will be an opportunity for people to know exactly what the drive means and what we do. I encourage all Liberians on the drive to be very civil. It's always a good thing to disagree with people, like I've always said. But let us disagree on ideas and have mutual respect for each other. Because at the end of the day, governments will come and government will leave. Presidents will come and go. The country remains and the people will stay. And as a Liberian, I've continued to do that on the drive, making sure that despite of our disagreement, that I maintain some high level of respect for all Liberians. And today I'll be able to at least show to our people what exactly the drive is about, and I'm grateful to be here. So for those of you who have not been able to follow me, hopefully this will be an opportunity to know exactly, and then from there we can be able to build a relationship. But I'm looking forward to this discourse today.
Wonderful. Mr. Sharif, have you been able to join in?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Are you getting me
Perfect.
now? I'm out there?
Yes, we are. Perfect. So we just asked our other two guests to tell us a little bit about their platform and when their show airs. And just why you started the platform.
Okay, so are you speaking to me now?
Yes, sorry,
Oh.
Mr. Sharif. Mhm.
Okay. Yes, my name is Prince Sharif. I am a Liberian. I'm married. I have kids. I'm educated. And I have a platform, or I run a platform on social media that is basically intended to change the mindset, the attitude of Liberians relative to how they look at their country, how they look at leadership, and how they look at development. And my platform is named Under the Palava Hut. As a traditional person, as someone who, grew up from a traditional background, I understand very well the implication of under or the Palava Hut from the traditional background. The Palava Hut is almost like our Supreme Court, those of us who grew up in our traditional setting. Whenever issues are taken under the Palava Hut, there is always a resolution. There is always a way forward. I don't care how difficult that issue is, but when people go under the Palava Hut, is where they find amicable resolution. And I name it Under the Palava Hut because it is intended to go across. When you are in the Leeward or in the interior, the languages that our people speak under the Palava Hut is intended to get across every spectrum. whether you know book, you don't know book, whatever diction or whatever tune that will be used to discuss or to mitigate issue, get across to everybody, and everybody will understand it, and they will work from there without asking any question that, oh, I hear the one, or what the chief say, or what the other person say. So that's what the platform is intended for. Like I said, I am a Liberian, and I have been in this issue of advocacy from the age of 8. I have been working from the age of 8. And let me say here, I am proudly a member of the World Organization of the Scout Movement of the world. And in Liberia, I serve as a scout, where I rose to the highest rank. That is the Chief Commissioner of the Liberia Scout Association. So all of my life has been dedicated to, volunteerism and serving humanity. Even now that I'm in the United States, despite of my professional job, I always take time off to, volunteer my services to other organizations. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And thanks for being here. I'm glad you could join in.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
And so to begin our dialogue or discussion tonight, I want to let everyone know the topics we will be discussing. We're going to talk about gender equality and gender-based violence, the Liberian economy, the June 7th protests, good governance, rule of law, and accountability, the upcoming by-elections, and we'll close talking about the role of media in society, especially our society. Okay, so we're going to start with the lighter topics first. I know everyone is into politics and that draws the most attention. So just to make sure every topic gets a good opportunity, we'll start with the less popular topic. So gender equality and gender-based violence. What we've seen in current events, we've heard of the death of Odell Sherman. It's still unknown or hasn't been confirmed yet whether her death was a murder. And so for our audience who may not know, Odell Sherman was a student who went, I guess they call it on camp, to study with her friends for the WIAC exams. And after the exams were done, they went out, and later that night, she was dead. There's also the recent beating of a student at Sotiaman Christian School, where a young lady received several lashes at school. It seems excessive, and it also seemed to be for no good reason. Also, there's a domestic violence bill in the House of Representatives, I believe, to be passed on Tuesday. The More Than Me school that was in the media is also closing. And we also can talk about the First Lady's She Is Me campaign in this topic of gender equality and gender-based violence. So Lady J, as the lady on this platform, on this panel, can you tell us what your views are on just gender-based violence and gender equality at this point in time in Liberia?
Yes, thank you. So for the gender-based violence issue, this is an issue that has been in Liberia for a very long time. And this goes all the way back to when we got our visitors from the States come into Liberia, into our country, and live there. The way we were treated as a people spoke a lot about how things would be today. And so this gender-based violence is not just from today or yesterday, it's from the very beginning. When someone has gone through a traumatic experience in their life, there are two things they can do to help themselves. They can either go into a place of wanting to help others not go through the similar thing that they did and turn away from that action, or they could be on a negative side where they go ahead and be a perpetrator. So gender-based violence has been something that Liberia has seen for a very long time based on what I just explained. When it comes to what's happening now, or the war too brought some very senseless acts into Liberia that has stayed. And no one has gone through rehabilitation since the war. So these facets of behaviors, it's now what we're witnessing now. And in order for these things to change, we have to go back to the root of the problem and see how best we can be able to help eradicate these things. They're not something that can be done by just us saying. People have to change the way they think. People have to change their way of life. People have to change the way they accept things, their tolerance, in regards for us to be able to move to the next level pertaining to gender-based violence in Liberia.
Thank you. My question to you, George, is what are your feelings on the More Than Me Foundation or school closing in Liberia? There are some who I guess are happy, but then there are others who say that now there are these group of young ladies who no longer have a school to attend. So what are your thoughts on the More Than Me closing?
First and foremost, I want to say thank you very much for the question. When I discuss national issues of such magnitude, I always like to look at it from a policy perspective. You see, the problem in Liberia is that this quick fix then is solutions. When you look at what is happening today, all the ideas that I hear is about how we replace this government. And in reality, a nation will never progress with a 5 years policy agenda. You need a vision for that country. What I've said consistently is we need comprehensive reform. You see, the issue of gender-based violence, the mood, me, all these things as a result of system breakdown. We have a gender ministry where the Ministry of Gender is not involved. It is the ministry that should have had oversight authority on monitoring the activity of More Than Me. But unfortunately for our sisters, our young girls were let down by our government. And make no mistake, I do not want to shy away from my own government that I defended. Part of the blame also go to my own government, which happens to be the Unity Party government, because I know the organization was in existence under the Unity Party government and continue on the CDC. So I'm not here to say, oh no, it only happened on the CDC because it was brought to light. But you see, the thing about it, when I talk about government, it's about people performing based on their ability to perform. What do I mean by that? We cannot have the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare not being aware of what's going on with Liberians. We need to make sure that government works for the people. We need to set off More Than Me. I get it that what happened was bad. I do not support it because that in itself is not only a form of exploitation. I do not condone it, and I wish it had never happened because those young girls, their future have been destroyed. However, while it is true we want to move them, I know that the center is going to be closed. It comes back to our government. What is our government doing to absorb those students? What are some of the programs being put in place so that those children can be moved to a safe location, so that they can have access to the education that will be provided by them under this program? You see, these things cannot just be talked about as bread and butter issue because we feel offended about it now. We have to look long term. We know that there are more young girls across the country who do not have access to quality education. What are we doing? What is the comprehensive educational reform package from our government? So what is the gender ministry doing to tackle some of these problems? You see, oversight responsibility, when it's given to people, your job is to make sure that you maintain control. You continue to follow up. We cannot have organizations going to Liberia and doing what they want to do. Only when something happens and is brought to light and people want to solve it. We have to make sure that these things are prevented. This is why I've always said I believe in being proactive and retroactive. The Liberian men always want to be retroactive, which is a bad thing. The government only want to throw light on something when bad happens. What have the government done to prevent these things? How was the government monitoring the program? What have been the consistent evaluation method put in place by the government to make sure that these things can be prevented for future generations? You see, the previous question you even asked, let me talk about, you talk about gender equality. And what does that mean? You talk about the rape situation. I think I've come to this table consistently making it very clear where I stand on the issue of rape. It's a result of lack of clear policy. And here's my position on that. I believe that the reason why people continue to rape people is because nothing has been done. A man rapes a 10-year-old girl, he goes to prison for 3, 4, 5 months, he gets bailed out. I believe that that is not going to serve as a deterrent. It's going to continue to happen until we can be able to set straight up law. I believe that for me, where I stand, that's my position. I want to push for a death penalty for rape. And my reason is very simple. I believe that for 50, you've killed her. So I do not have time because I myself, I put my sisters in that girl's position. So this is my stand on it. I believe that if we have laws, if people are being executed for rape, this rape put in place policy. Look, a lawmaker is accused of raping somebody. A lawmaker still maintains his job at the Capitol building. Those things cannot continue to happen. So what are we doing to serve as a deterrent? We can talk about these things all we want. What have been done to curtail it from happening? What have been done to prevent it from happening? On the issue of gender equality in Liberia, I understand Liberia happens to be a male-dominated society. That does not excuse our bad behavior. That does not mean that people must be marginalized. That does not mean that female must not be given the same opportunity that men have. I believe that, listen, this is why I have said consistently, if it was up to me, it would be different. What I believe is that pushing for a constitutional reform, I believe that we must allocate 30% of representation in the legislature to females. That's what I believe. I want 35% representation to go to females. If we want to solve the issue of gender equality, we need to begin to address this issue hands-on. We need to assure young girls, assure our females that they are competent, that they are potential, and they too can contribute to that country. And this is my position on this. So this issue of talking about it and do, I have heard this over and over. We need to move quick. In Rwanda today, Rwanda have the highest female in parliament. So we can do this in our country.
George, let me inject something before you continue. You want 30% of representation in the House to go to female, but you are supporting
35%.
35%. Right, 35%. But in the by-elections that's coming, and we're going to get to the by-elections, you are supporting a male candidate as opposed to a female in the race.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Okay.
So you just wanted to interject that. So I just want to end on this note real quick. The Model Me Foundation, folks, here's my point on it. I believe that the government failed those young girls. And I think the Unity Party government is responsible. The CDC government is also responsible. There was not enough done to maintain oversight. They allowed the organization to continue to exploit those girls. And today, some of those girls will be left. I don't know how far they've gone with regards to testing, because we learned the story that broke that there was someone who was infected that was sleeping with those girls. That in itself is heartbreaking. I speak from a perspective as a parent, as a brother, as a son, and as someone who has a loved one. That could have been any one of us sisters. That could have been your daughter. So it really, really hurt my heart. I understand that maybe if there's something we could have done differently to handle the situation, fine. But at this particular point in time, I'm concerned. What is the government doing? What is the gender ministry doing to prevent such things from happening again? There are more young girls today in the street across Monrovia. What have been done to address the plight of those young girls? That is what I want to see.
Okay. Thank you. Prince, in response to what George has said, do you have, or do you believe that the government is doing everything in their power to address gender-based violence and gender inequality in the country?
First of all, let me just say my appearance on this platform is not sanctioned by my political institution or the institution that I am a member of, that is CDC. I'm not here in the capacity of a spokesperson or an official of the CDC, but I'm here as a partisan and as a Liberian who also believe that me as an individual, my voice must also be heard on national issue. So let me just provide this disclaimer. And I'm not even here in the name of my platform, because my platform is controlled by other people. So I'm here in the name of Prince and Prince Sharif as a citizen like any other citizen who call or who appear on a show and gave his own view relative to what is unfolding. Having said that, Lady J made a very, very good intro. And when we are discussing this kind of issue, we must always be careful to discuss it from a holistic point of view and put aside our political sentiment or our political feelings. Because whenever we bring in our political attachment, we dilute the actual meaning of what we are discussing. So today, all that I will be saying here, I will be discussing as a Liberian, and I will not be discussing politics. I will not even be discussing what is on the book, and I will be discussing logic and reality. Having said that, the issue of gender-based violence or rape or whatever one may choose to call it is a systemic problem from the very foundation of our republic. When the slaves settled in Liberia back in the 1800s, they came along with other females, other wives, or other women. And unfortunately, when the structure of governance was set up by our brothers that came from on the other side of the waters, our mothers who were on board the ship Elizabeth, they were not regarded. They were not given a space in that particular arrangement. When you look at the entire leadership of our brothers that came from on the other side of the waters, from the 1800s, when you look at all of the leadership, everything was dominated by their male counterpart. Where was the female? Where was our mother? They were nowhere around. So this issue of gender-based violence in our society is a foundation problem. And there's the reason why we need to discuss it from a foundation standpoint. Look at the root of it, then we can be able to solve it. When you look at the issue of gender-based violence in this particular government, that is the CDC government, I can say to you without any iota of doubt that this government is serious about fighting gender-based violence. The reason for which I'm saying this, the government of Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, or the past government, did extremely well to highlight the issue and to make it to become a national discussion, this issue of gender-based violence. But unfortunately, much was not done. It was a kind of cosmetic fight against gender-based violence. It was a kind of sugarcoating issue that was happening under the government of Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. If you have been following what has been happening in Liberia under the government of Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, we had some of our sisters who came from Lebanon, and you know of that Lebanon issue. Liberians, girls who were in Lebanon and was taken advantage of. In fact, I was one of those that led their campaign, and we pled with the government back then to bring back our sisters. Fortunately, our sisters was brought back. But when they were brought back, they were isolated. In fact, they were placed in almost like, you know, a kind of isolation center. And I am one person that cried on radio on so many occasions that this issue must be taken seriously. Let us see how best we can have an institution to be able to rehabilitate our sisters. But unfortunately, all that we said was politicized, and people look at it from a political standpoint. But as compared to this government, we are seeing that this government is taking what we call a practical approach to empowering our women or to fight this issue of gender-based violence. Because the issue of gender-based violence cannot be adequately dealt with when you have our mothers, our sisters, not being part of decision-making. And this is the reason why the very first step that the CDC government took to prove to Liberians and the world that it is serious about this issue of gender-based violence is to make sure that our political party is genderly sensitive or is gender sensitive. You see that we chose a female in presence of Madam Jarry-Osterhout Taylor.
Mr. Sharif.
In this government, yes, and when you look
Mr.
at this
Sharif,
government,
before you continue,
this government, since the inception of politics in Liberia, this is the only government since the inception that have employed or that have on board more female and that have even in act, as we speak to you now, my sister just talked about it, and I will not go in there. She talked about this issue of the bill that have been submitted to the House, this domestic violence bill that have been submitted. And the president himself is behind this. As you may be aware, the president is the feminine-in-chief of Liberia. So you see that the issue of gender-based violence is not just by paper, but it's also by a practical approach. As I speak to you, the Ministry of Gender have a program in place where they are setting up what we call a community watch forum or a community team that will be able to fight the issue of gender-based violence from the community, because if you cannot fight the issue from the community, it will not be able to get to the court. Remember now, these issues are compromised right in the community. So if we can have a team, or we can have an organization, or we can have a structure like the current Ministry of Gender is doing under the astute Piso Sedita, to set up a community team that will be able to track and follow the issue of gender-based violence, that it will not be compromised. And this is what this government is doing. From all indication,
Prince.
Yes,
Prince.
Yes.
Yeah, let me interject something, and so you can land quickly, because we kind of you seem to lay the issue of race, the root cause, to the feet of the former slaves coming to Liberia.
No, sir. It's not necessarily that I laid it squarely to the former slaves coming to Liberia. But I just tell you how our people, especially our women, were marginalized. You know of the Joseph Jenkins Roberts. You know the names are there. You know of all of these names, all of the committee and etc. that was set up. But are we saying that there were not permanent women that could be very key? The only time women knew were mentioned when one woman took, how you call, she smoked viaze, she took how you call Kieno and bombed somebody.
Right.
The second time we heard of it were people sewing and facing flag. At the time we heard of women. With the exception of that, the involvement of women or the participation of women on national level, key decision making, it was scanty.
Can we put some facts to this course here and not having people running around? We have Liberians listening to us that are here to learn, and we can't have people running around the place all over without factual statement. I want to set the record straight here real quick and hold Prince accountable. Prince Sharif, upon your introduction, you introduce yourself and talk about your platform, the Palava Hut. Now you just said, before you begin to speak, that you are not speaking in the capacity of representing the Palava Hut. That in itself is a contradiction, because this program today was for talk show hosts. So if you are not yet to speak in the capacity as a talk show host, then unfortunately, maybe they sent the wrong invitation to you. And you also said, and I quote, that you were not going to be speaking as an official spokesman of the government, but you are here forgetting government policy. So I appreciate you. Listen, you can't come here and play these games here with us. When you want to speak on government behalf, you're talking about gender ministry policy. So what are you talking about? You don't want us to hold you accountable by your words. So what I would recommend to you is that you make clarification on that. But the question was very simple, Prince. The question was about gender-based violence and what needs to be done. You can go ahead and tell us what your government have done to improve the system. And I want to set the record very straight. Prince Sharif, what you have not understood consistently, and I always try to tell you, the reason why people elect a government is to provide for its people. The government responsibility is to protect lives and property. I don't care if nothing was done in 1847, in 1820, in 1855, but now we have elected a government, and this government responsibility is to protect these people. It is not to be reshifting blames. This government, as we know, was the correction fluid government. So what I think you should be doing today, Prince, is in as much as you spend most of your time celebrating and dancing for this government, I think you should spend that time here now to tell us some of those programs that your government is putting in place to better our female life. And if you want for us to shift blame, we can look at the records. Honor Madam Ellen Johnson said it. Let's look at the rape incidents and let's compare it to that of George Weah. At the rate it is happening, we can count more than 3 instances of female rape back to back to back under this government. So don't try to play people here. I'm here to have a very responsible discussion here today. But please, our audience are listening, and we
Can I come in, please?
A point of
we
injection.
them, let's do what's right for them.
Can I come in a little
point of
bit?
injection, please.
Can I come in?
Okay, I will give the female the opportunity.
Yeah, can I come in?
Yes.
I just want to say gender-based violence has not changed, and there is nothing about the rule of law right now that states that anything is being done in this government. Friends, let's be honest with each other. Ellen time, we had, gender-based violence going on. That's true. But the level of which things are happening now, the level at which things are happening in regards to the rape and all those different things that are going on right now, maybe because our eyes are more open, it's disheartening. The violence in Liberia is bad. There are 2 things that I can look at if I want to be on a political end, and then I will come to a different end. The police don't have or is not doing a good job when it comes to solving these cases. They have not done anything when it comes to the way they investigate, giving families a closure with like a good autopsy report to tell people about what's going on. There is no recognized pathologist in Liberia. So most of the time these things happen, we kind of just have a speculation thing going on. That's one of the things that's going on right now. Secondly, we don't even have a good court system that will be able to judge cases on these matters and actually make sure people pay for their wrongdoings when it comes to gender-based violence. So any Joe Smoke can just jump up and do certain things now and be like, no, nothing's going to happen to me because nobody's listening or nobody's doing anything.
All right.
Now I'm coming. Excuse me. Let me just land. Please, let me just land. So now we have a community where women are scared. Women are scared because they don't know how they are going to be able to survive in this kind of situation. Women are scared. So they're not even thinking about gender equality right now. They are thinking about surviving, because are they going to be a statistic tomorrow when something happens to them and nobody says anything and the body gets taken into the morgue and they bury them and that's it? A lady from Minnesota left from here and went to Liberia and she was brutally killed, murdered. Up to today, the police have not been able to give us any situation about this lady, any facts about what happened. Nobody has been taken to nowhere. We have a lady sitting down in the gender ministry in the name of Madam Pisos and Serita. You would think that because it's a woman, she would be able to do some things that would help this situation and take it to the next level. When CDC started to come into this picture, they told the Liberian people that they needed change. They were going to bring change. We haven't seen changes yet. We still see you guys in a campaign mode-like form, playing with the Liberian people on all levels and not doing anything to eradicate the situation. So when we talk about something like gender-based violence, it's unique and very relative to me, because it's making me scared to go back to Liberia to see if somebody is going to do something to me based on the fact that I'm a woman and I have a powerful voice. So please, when you are talking about reforms and things that are being set, I don't see anything yet. And let's be realistic as we talk, because these things are deep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Before you come in, Prince, this was meant to be the less topic so that we could move on. So
let's go ahead.
Yeah, but let me make an objection,
take 2 minutes and respond so that we can move on to it. We have so many to discuss.
Okay.
You see, let me say something here. That's why I said from the beginning in laying my premise that when you come to this kind of discussion and you want to put on a political garment, then it means we can do politics all day and our audience will now learn. Our audience will now learn. Lady J just said something that all about this issue of violence she talked about is unique to her. You know, she is concerned as an individual. Now, let me tell you this on this platform. Your perception, your feeling is not facts. Any one of us on this platform, how we feel, our own perception, how we think, is not the fact. She talked about the issue of gender-based violence becoming so rampant in this government. The first thing is that I always tell people, what is your statistic relative to what happened under the Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf regime, who was a female, as compared to this regime? 1 year, few months. What is your statistic? For you to come here and say, under this government, a CDC government, that the issue of gender-based violence, especially against women, is high.
75%. 75%.
Excuse me.
75% is my statistic. 75% of women are being raped in Liberia, and nothing is being done about it. That's my statistic.
Hold on, Lady J. Let Prince learn.
Let me say this.
Go ahead, Prince.
This to you. I'm coming. I said this to you yesterday, that when I'm on this kind of platform, I have come here to provide information and to be very civil. If people will bring sentiment into this issue, then I beg that for me, I have come to educate our people, to come and explain facts, and I've not come here with feelings. So if people will want to engage into a political, what we call warfare, then I can assure you that I am also prepared for that. But because we're ready to inform our people about the reality and not to bring sentiment in this thing, I will want for every one of us to slow down our political garment, because for us, politically, we are too inclined and we know all of this chicanery. So I want to beg again that we have come to provide information to our people. You are the host and you are the moderator. So if you gave Prince Sheriff 2 or 3 minutes, please allow Prince Sheriff to make his point. But when Prince Sheriff is being hijacked, then it means I can do the same. So I will want to appeal that let our people learn. And you know, people should stop hijacking each other, because we can do it equally.
We don't want interruption. Prince, please go ahead. Make your point. Now,
the issue of sexual violence or gender-based violence in Liberia, I can tell you that under this government is the only government since the political history of the Republic of Liberia that have taken some serious steps to be able to curtail or to bring this issue under correction. One will say, what are those steps? The first thing that we have done as a government, or the CDC government have done, is to first of all give women the voice. One of the reasons for which women has been at the disadvantage point in our politics is because they have not been part of the place decisions are made. When the people who are affected are not directly involved in the decision that affect them, they becomes the victim. So this is the reason why from the onset I told you, when you look at this government, you see that a vast majority, in fact, this government is the only government since the inception, even the Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government could not bring on board the amount of women that we have in this government. So in other words, to fight this issue as we have started with policy, with laying down laws, you talk about the domestic violence bill. The president himself is pushing forth this bill. The first lady herself is pushing forth this bill. You talk about empowerment, because if you will fight this issue of gender-based violence, you must be able to empower the disadvantaged group. As we speak, you know what the first lady of the Republic is doing. We have women, our sisters are in China now. We are building the capacity. The first lady, in fact, has taken upon this as one of our initiatives of empowering our women, building their capacity, because the only way that we can fight this issue of gender-based violence is when we start to build the capacity of our people and make them to understand. In some quarters, the issue of sexual or gender-based violence is looked at as a traditional thing. But you must first of all educate the people that when somebody is raped in that family thing, you don't go around the table and talking. And this government have put in place those mechanisms. I'll tell you about the community engagement. This government, what the Ministry of Gender is doing, under Madam Sedi Tan, what this government is doing now is working with the community, because those people who perpetrate the acts against women, where are they from? Are they from SCAR or are they from the tier heavens? They are from the community. Who can secure these people or who can cover up the deeds? They are the same community people that can cover it up. When some people say, oh, don't carry men to court, you know, we are all family people within the community. So if you start to fight the issue and start to educate the people from the community, it means that you are serious about it. And this is what this government is doing. Establishing cells in the community and educating people so that they can expose the issue. And as I speak to you, this is the only government that is taking serious steps in curbing the issue of sexual or gender-based violence in our country. With the presence of the law.
Thank you, Prince.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, let's Daniel, back to you.
So, going forward, I think we will time everyone's response and keep it to about 2 minutes.
That would be great.
That would be great.
And so I'll be the timekeeper just so we can get through all of the topics quickly. So that way we can get through all of the topics we have here today. So now we want to move on to the Liberian economy. Let's take this time to talk about the U.S. exchange rate. President Weah's plan to stimulate the economy. He rolled out a plan in April, he issued an executive order in April to help stimulate the economy. We'll also talk about the IMF recommendations and their intervention or dealings with Liberia, the salary cuts of civil servants, the recent draft of the national budget, and the employment challenges that exist in the country. So we started with Lady J last time. George, we'll start with you this time. Can you just give us your overall views on the current state of the economy? And you have 2 minutes.
Okay, beautiful. So here's what I have to say on the issue of the economy. As you know, the Liberian economy is struggling under the leadership of George Weah, who have refused to institute economic reform. He lacks monetary policy and fiscal policy. The economy does not work based on dancing. The economy works based on actions. As you know, the IMF recently was in Liberia that are put into place or implemented by the IMF only in countries where they realize that the government is incapacitated to be able to reform the economy. Under the leadership of President Weah, we know, I listen to my brother's Prince Sherry dance around here. Let's look at the basic fact when it comes to the economy. He talk about people bring sentiments. No, Prince, we are not bringing sentiments to this disco. We are bringing facts. We know that inflation is at 28%. That is not perception or sentiment. Those are hardcore facts. Read the IMF report. We know that under this leadership that our national reserve reduced from 154 million to 119 million. Those are not perception, Prince. Those are facts. We are also aware that the exchange rate today in Liberia is 200 to $1. Those are not sentiments. Those are facts. We understand that when inflation is at 28%, that means money that will worth more yesterday is worth less today. It is continuing to increase the hardship on our people. Under this government where wasteful spending have been the order of the day, the government that lacks accountability, lacks transparency. It has refused to do anything to be able to attract investment that could lead to economic growth. The IMF questioned the government and encouraged them to diversify the economy so that they grow their revenue base. But one thing you must understand about growing revenue, it only happens when economic activities are taking place. That means you are expanding the economy. How do you do that? Those things are done by the government creating an enabling environment. My time is up?
10 seconds.
Okay, beautiful. So basically what needs to happen, the government is responsible to create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. That means protection of the rule of law, freedom of expression, protection of human rights, accountability and transparency. The government lacks consumer confidence, which means nobody trusts this government because of its notoriously corrupt administration practices.
All right, thank you. Lady J, what are your thoughts on the economy, the exchange rate, and the government's attempts to help stimulate the economy?
According to the 2019 Index of Economic Freedom in Liberia, these are the statistics. Property rights has dropped down to 26.7%. Government integrity has dropped down to 24.2%. Judicial effectiveness has dropped down to 39.0%. The business freedom has dropped down to 50.6%. Labor freedom has dropped down to 38.30%. Monetary freedom in Liberia has dropped down to 68.9%. When it comes to government spending, it's gone up 62.1%. Tax burdens has gone up to 62.7%. Physical health has gone up from 69 to 69.1%. When it comes to trade freedom, we are down at 60.0%, where investment freedom is minus 55, financial freedom is minus 20. In this government, it's clear. These are the statistics that shows that the government is not doing a good job. When it comes to the people, the salary of our civil servants, it's at a dead rate. For about 3 months now, the people have not received their salaries, and we are still looking for ways to pay them, whilst representatives and senators get all the money that they can get in the government, and monies are still missing. When it comes to employment for women, they have to go through the regular resume thing that everybody does. They have to go through interview, plus they have to go through sexual, a sexual kind of like interview before they get seats in the government. This particular gender equality thing you were talking about here, Prince, most of the girls in your government has talked to me secretly and told me that they had to spread their legs, to open their legs before they got the positions in the government that they have right now. So when you sit there and talk about, oh, we got a lot of women in our government and stuff like that, it's because they had to spread their legs. Some of the women who don't even want to go to Liberia right now have decided to tell themselves that they're not going to drop down to that kind of level to be able to express themselves. So thank you.
And Lady J, I don't know where you say people have talked to you in confidence. I don't know where the facts are about people.
That's okay.
Right, but let me press you on the percent you read. Can you give us what was the numbers prior to those?
It doesn't show me the numbers prior to that. Just tell me right now from World Bank rank, Liberia's at 160, and that's really bad as a percentage.
And that tells you it came down.
Oh yeah.
Do you want me to help out with some basic facts on that? If you want me to, I can help you on that. I can give you some numbers on that. Do you want me to?
Go ahead. Quickly.
Okay. I want to know, am I able to speak then before?
Go ahead.
Okay. So let's look at some basic, since you want some numbers to do some comparative analysis, let's look at some basic facts.
Right.
We know that Madam Salif averaged the economy when Madam Salif took over, the economy was a minus 95% GDP decline growth rate. Madam Salif managed by 2012, the Liberian economy grew at 7.5% GDP. In 2017 and 2018, you know the economy grew at 3.2% GDP. Under the CDC government of George Weah in 2018, the economy grew at 1.99%. In 2019, the economy was first projected by IMF to grow at 0.47%. But because of George Weah's poor performance and lack of accountability, right now the IMF have made it clear that the economy will now grow at 0.4%. So that's a simple math for us to understand. You keep from 3.2% in 2017, 1.9. And let me say this, go to the IMF recent report from the review in DC. They said Liberia today is ranked the 16th worst place on the planet Earth to do business. The IMF said that Liberia could fall even further down when the new report come out in October. So there's nothing here for us to sit down and pretend that this government is doing anything. This government is a complete joke. And we know it. So I want to hear Prince give us some of the economic reform they have instituted. That's why I'm here to listen to today. Not running around the place. I will leave it for now. I want to give Prince all the time.
Okay, Prince, you have 3 minutes. You have your own thoughts and then a minute to respond to what Lady J and George have said.
All right. When we look at the economy in general, you know, as a student of management and economics, the effect of the economy, let me just limit it to the United States, or what we are experiencing now, is the result of what happened some 5 or 6, 7, 8 years ago. In Liberia, what we are seeing now under this government, as it relates to inflation, as it relates to, you know, some other issues. What we are now having is what was planted by the Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government. If you look at this issue of inflation in our Liberian economy, if you look at the issue of inflation, now tell me for sure, do we as a nation have anything substantive that we are giving to the world? Because the economy of a nation is based on your export power, based on your export capacity. But Liberia, under the government of Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, we all know how our government was seriously depreciated. All of those resources that should have strengthened our economy today, they were damaged long time ago. They were damaged under the previous government. Let me just say the previous government, they were damaged. So what this government is now left with is the residue of what happened under the Ellen regime. I'll give you an example. You saw the inflation. Did this government print money? No, the government did not print money. The real government did not print money. But what we saw when this government took over, we saw that money was all over the place. It was because of what was printed in the Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf regime, and people could not take it to the bank, and they were keeping it in their homes for fear of the elections result. Now, when it comes to the economic reform that this government is carrying on, a 2 years old child will tell you clearly, the first thing that this government have done to bring responsibility in what we call its fiscal policy. One, we talk about the reduction of especially the executive branch of government or the cabinet to reduce the salary. That is the first serious step.
30 seconds.
Meaningful government. I'm sorry?
30 seconds remaining.
Okay. That is the first meaningful step that any government will take that's serious to be able to put a financial policy and system in place. The cutting of salary. People that were receiving 25 million or 25,000 a month, today, nobody in the Republic of Liberia, as far as the record is concerned, as a minister, is taking more than an 8,000 or more than $7,500. This is one of the serious reforms that this government has put in place. As I speak to you, Honorable Akaras Gray has introduced a bill or is talking to the lawmaker along with the president.
Time is up. I'll let you finish that. Time is up. I'll let you finish your statement there.
Okay. That we can see how best we can bring all of the other branches of government so that we can discuss this issue of salary relative to the salary harmonization, because you cannot have somebody who is a classroom teacher, a principal, taking $200 and somebody who is serving as an office boy taking almost $1,000. So as I speak to you, you see what we call the salary harmonization debate or engagement is ongoing right now. These are all serious, and I will give more. These are all serious economic reform that this government is putting in place, physical and practical. But as we progress, I will give you more of the.
Okay. George, you were laughing there during Prince's response.
Yeah, I want to educate Prince today. I told Prince to come to learn. Let me educate Prince. Why this?
Judge.
Let me help. Yeah,
Judge. Before we continue, I want us to be very civil. You know,
I will.
I don't want you to say educate Prince.
Okay, let me enlighten my brother. Let me enlighten my brother then.
You are enlightening all of us. So don't be specific to Prince before you.
A point of injection before my brother comes. A point of injection, please. A point of injection. George, Lobbo, I will want to appeal to you and Lady J again for the second time. This is a discussion that other people are learning. They are hearing us. Let us now reduce it to a political rivalry. So I'm begging you, let us be civil with how we address each other.
Oh, we are being civil.
Thank you.
Let me make some points here based on what Prince said. The reason why, you see, listen, folks, if we take Prince analysis, Prince agreed that people are here to learn. And I said before I came on this platform that when we come here to discuss serious national issues, our brothers and sisters want to understand the facts. We cannot come here to spill out gibberish to them. While it's true, I intend to be civil, but let me say this to you. Being civil does not mean that I sit down and accept something that I know is far from true. My brother Prince Sherry talked about his government is instituting reform, they are cutting salary. You see, in life, sometimes I always told my brother Prince, I say, Prince, have you had the opportunity to read through your government's own budget? Have you read through the budget? How is it that a government that cuts salary, for Christ in heaven's sake? The previous government total wage bill was 296 million. Your government cut salary, but you end up with $309 million budget wage bill. How is that possible, Prince? And you still come here and tell me that you cut salary. Let me tell you, Prince, today I'm not going to take the time to go into the budget, but let me give you simple facts on where you lack when it comes to the issue of money. You talk about early government printed money. It is true, Prince. And let me let you understand that every government will print money. The reason why government prints money, the central bank will always do it to replace mutilated money. As you know, the reason for printing the second money was to replace the legacy note. What you have refused to discuss, even though the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government printed the money, your government cleared the money, and that money is yet to be accounted for. So when there's inflation or there's excess amount of Liberian dollar on the market, it is your government that cleared the money, that did not take the money to the central bank. As a result of that, the core report makes it very clear that the documentation show inconsistency and discrepancy, Prince. We are not here to talk. We're not being political. What we're doing here today is setting the record straight and using facts. Your government decided that they were going to infuse 25 million to map up excess liquidity on the market. What happened to the money? They are yet to account for it. Then your finance minister, so Prince, for us to know now that the money was not in the bank, your central bank governor told us on October 1st that all money were in the vault. It was being accounted for. And Prince, in economics, we know that the central bank is the institution that is responsible for government monetary policy. The reason is because the central bank controls the flow of money on the market. So there's nowhere in any normal country a central bank will take $10 billion and put it on the market in less than 8 months. It don't happen anyway. It's not possible. So we know that the money was never in the bank. Now your finance minister confirmed it when he came and told us that there's some 16 billion outside of the banking cycle. Now, simple sense, Prince, let me help you today. If Ellen printed 5 billion in 2016, Governor Weeks testified to Congress that 2.5 billion was infused in the economy and the other 2.5 billion was in the bank. How is it that in 2018 you cleared the money in January, in February, and March, but 10.5 billion is outside the banking cycle? How is that possible? So we can say this to you, folks. The reason why there's excess amount of Liberian dollar outside is because the money was not accounted for as stated in the core report. The money did not go to the bank, and you people know exactly you sold the Liberian people money, and as a result of this government poor performance, this is why inflation continues to increase. What is happening is not magic. Okay, you see the Liberian people no longer trust the government. Consumers' confidence is down. What that means is people in the country no longer trust the bank to put their money in the bank because you are not accountable. So say the facts, my brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me just come here.
Before you come in, Prince, before you come in, I just want to announce to ladies and gentlemen, you are watching Focus on Liberia. We have a talk show host roundtable. Our guest, Mr. Josh Lobbo from The Drive, Lady J, commonly known as Jessica Jarry-Osterhout from Everything Liberian Politics Nation, and Prince Sherry from Honor the Palava House. This is not a debate. We are having a discussion. So if you are addressing the issue, I don't want you to address it to any one of the panelists in particular. Let's discuss the issue and just talk directly to me or to our audience so that we understand. I don't want the panelists to face each other because this is not a debate, this is a discussion.
Okay. Let me say this. We talk about the increase in the wage bill. That's what I told someone, that when we are discussing, we must discuss with numbers, with fact, with statistics. Do you know that this government, in terms of employment, has created more employment in government as compared to the Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government? Now, what happened? That common economists, that when you get more people, that you employ, what do you expect? You expect the salary or the wages to remain the same as it was. Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf wage bill, you cannot compare it with this government. It's very simple. It's because when you look at the employment number one, look at this government. Since this government took over, all this government have been doing is employing the Liberian people. Why? Because the private sector was damaged under the previous regime. We had 68 concessions companies. Were they providing jobs? No. Every one of them was on what we call skeleton staff. So what happened is that when this government took over, all of those that were even in government and that were not working, remember now the Ministry of Education, you are aware of that, that about 2,000 teachers who were not on government payroll, under the government of Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. What happened to this government? Did their government lay them down as Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government did and said that we want a small, effective, and efficient team? No. This government brought all of those teachers on board. What this government did was to include them and make sure that they are on payroll. So in terms of creating jobs, this government create more jobs than that of the early regime. Let's forget about the education sector. Let's look at the health sector. When you look at the health sector, under this particular government, we had people who were working in government, in those various government hospitals that were never on government salary. They were just working there and for him to Martin. But when this government took over, they met with the Health Workers Association. And all of those, I repeat, all of those that under Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government that were not on payroll and that was working in the health sector, especially in the public area, this government put every one of them on payroll. All of them are on payroll. With the exception of that, the incentive for medical students under the regime of Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, that incentive was cut off. That incentive was cut off. But under this government have reintroduced the issue of incentive for medical students. Let's forget about that. When you look in the medical field, under the regime of Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government, with all of the amount we receive from the international donors to build our health, institution, we could not, I am waiting for somebody to disprove it. We could not send even 5 doctors or 5 doctors out of Liberia to go and learn in area of specialty. But as I speak to you, under this government has been able to broaden the scope that we have about 20 plus medical doctors that are out of Liberia, and they will be doing what we call studies in area of specialty under this government. Under the government, we have the records here. That's why I bring my laptop here. We have the records here. That did not happen. Now, when you look at the agriculture, sector, as I speak to you, we have about 25 plus of Liberians that are in what we
10 more seconds.
Israel, that are learning. So when all of these things are happening, do you expect the wages or the wage bill of government to be the same, my people? When you get 10 children in your house, you expect the men that get and just 2 here in well, they cooking 2 cups of rice. You that get 10 children, you call the same 2 cups of rice. Just common sense. It's just common sense. So this government wage bill will increase. But what we are doing is we are taking out those ghost names. This is the only government that have instituted a serious measure to take away the ghost name. As we speak to you now, there is a forensic audit that is going on. We started with the Ministry of Education. You saw it. We were able to save millions of dollars. Now we have presented a realistic budget. Realistic budget.
Okay.
Please, I'm listening to the host. She gave me a time, please.
Yeah. So you have 10 more seconds. That's fine.
I'm begging you, look, please. I want to say this again. I'll continue to say it.
Prince, let it go. Let's because the 10 seconds. So now there's something. 1 second, Daniel. There's something I want to bring to the attention of everyone, and this is what I will refer to as the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf factor. On both sides, what I hear people who are pro-government would say is, these things happened during Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and you didn't do anything about it. And then those who are opposed to the government would say, oh, this is why you are here. But then when it comes to maybe protests, they say, oh, CDC, you are doing this Ellen time. Why you want to change now? So at our own convenience, we bring in Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to suit the position that we have. I want you to comment on that, starting with you, Lady J, about at what point do we bring in Ellen Johnson Sirleaf? Is it when they suit us or when it's the other way?
So this is something I've spoken about before, and thank you for that great question. Most of the politics in our community today has boiled down to certain things. One, you have to be interested in the person that you are backing. If you are not interested in the person you're backing, whether they do good or bad, you are not going to, like, say anything good towards them. This is the place we have come when it comes to our country. I've also said things like, people saying, oh, this is our time. We should not say those things, because when we say those things, we are not looking for a progressive Liberia. We are still looking to be able to be set in the past. We are living in past glory. When we sit and say, because, doing Ellington, this didn't work, so this, and stuff like that, we're making comparison because we don't want to speak to the issue. We are trying to find ways and means to go behind somewhere or to blame. This is a new government. This government stated that they wanted us to go into a place of change. That's why people voted for them. That's why I spoke on my platform in a favorable manner towards them, because they said they were bringing change. And that's what Liberia needed. But at a point in time when they came, the only thing they've been saying for the past 1 year plus is, oh, Ellen government, is the reason why the economy is like this. Ellen did it. And that's why we have this saying, during Ellen time, we never saw this. That's why that saying has come. So it's about the mindset that the people continue to carry. We continue to carry this mindset. We'll continue to be stuck in there, because when they came, they were supposed to do what they were supposed to do in a different way, so that we don't have the problems that we've had in the past. But the past kept being brought up as a way to shield what is going on right now. Nobody wants to take responsibility of the economy. Right now, our economy is heavily weighed on, one, us getting aid from the international community, and two, the remittance from the people living in diaspora. Those are the two things that carry the Liberian economy right now. If we don't send money back home from the diaspora, it's going to be hell in Liberia for the people there. If we don't get foreign aid in Liberia right now, it's going to be hell for the people back there. And even though we are receiving the foreign aid, we are not doing anything towards helping the people. So this is kind of where we are when we come to this question of who is to blame. The people that are on the stage right now is to blame. They have to come and change things and stop saying doing Ellen time, because Ellen time is over. Whatever wrong that she did is done. We don't have no way of fixing it. So let's think about what's happening now and fix the problem now and stop the blame game.
Thank you. George, my question for you, because you seem to be very critical of the government. So something that President Weah has done is to issue the Executive Order 95 to help stimulate the economy. What are your thoughts on that order?
Look, I try to be very respectful as much as I can to the president. I respect the office of the presidency. But you see, the presidency is not where people come to try. I've always referred to the president of the Republic of Liberia as a homeboy. And the reason why my definition is very clear. When you elect a leader who understands the magnitude of the level of work that needs to be done to transform the life of these people in these difficult economic times, you see the president holding consultative meetings with financial advisors to find solutions to the problem. But what does the homeboy do? He shows up to a party headquarters to hang out with his friends and dancing, born to win. While the US rate is going up, the US rate was not born to win. It was never born to lose. It was born to win. Since you've been dancing, have it changed? When he was elected and he was sent to a party headquarters playing Lulu, have the US rate gone down? Keep playing. This is what homeboys do. Homeboys gather together to hang out. Real presidents lead. And that's what Joshua have not done. You see, I want to go back real quick on the issue of when do we call Ellen Johnson selling? You see, the CDC government, for them, they believe that their strategy to justify their poor performance and lack of leadership was to shift their blame to Ellen Johnson selling. This is why when you look at the IMF reports now, they always try to show the numbers under Ellen and told the CDC government that, okay, Madam Salih inherited the Liberian economy. The national reserve she made was 6.5 million. When Madam Salih left office, she left 154 million. To give you the exact number, is $154.8 million. But today you have depleted it to under $17 million. So how you can compare yourself? And here's the problem about the CDC.
30 seconds.
The CDC government is fine in taking credit when Ellen Johnson Sirleaf projects are completed. Then Prince Sheriff go on and dance about the road. But when the US rate is up, then it's shave blame. What have happened? He talked about they put people on payroll. Prince Sheriff, let me help you today. Government do not hire based on sentiments. Government hire based on needs. That in itself, your statement clearly justifies what the IMF is saying. The IMF told you your wage bill is high. Then you come here and tell us we put people on payroll. You don't know that? The IMF is telling you that the people you put on payroll don't make sense. So as a result of that, you need to hire people based on need. You can't take seditions and inflate government payrolls and think that talking about we put people on payroll, put people on. That's how you create economic prosperity. That is not the way forward, please. Okay?
Prince, and this will be the final item on the economy. What are your thoughts on the letter from the embassies in Liberia and also the donor letter?
All right.
Are those indications to you that there is maybe some incompetence in the government or something is lacking, or did those letters serve as any alarm for you or cause any concern?
Let me say this. These unrealistic assertions by critics of the government will not help in any way. The reason for which I'm saying this is to solve a problem, you must first of all be able to look at the root cause of the problem. I'm listening to all of the assertions that the panelists are making here. But what they fail to realize or they have forgotten is to ask themselves, what was the status of the economy before Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf could leave office? What was the status of our economy during the era of the Ebola? What was the status of our economy when Ome left Liberia? What was the status of our economy when the elections that people so much infused their feelings into, and there was a threat all around that the companies that were there, even though they were not providing the kind of job that they were supposed to provide, but when they left from Liberia, what was the status of the economy? Now, these are things that people will want to shy away from. And that's why we will tell them that these assertions are unrealistic, because even Madam Ellen Johnson herself, her last statement, she made it very clear that there was a complete shambles. The economy was in a shambles. She appeared on Smith Tobe's show, the OKFM, and she made it very clear that the economy of Liberia was in a complete mess. There was a complete breakdown. So what this government is now doing is now putting realistic number on paper and giving it to the Liberian people so that they will see and we can recover from there. Like you talk about the recovery process. As we speak now, our economy is at a recovery process. And this is the reason why we talk about budget harmonization. When you look at all of the policies that the government have put in place, the RPD, taking those strenuous measures to the extent that government is denying itself some legal taxes. All of these things, allowing people to bring in, giving some exclusive rights to some Liberians to bring in, businesses that will be tax-free. What are these things doing? They are helping to put our economy into a realistic framework instead of what it used to be, business as usual. Remember now, IMF was in Liberia. The GMAP was in Liberia.
Let's bring it to a close on this.
Okay. The GMAP was in Liberia. All of those advices that the GMAP gave to the government of Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, did they go by those advices? No, they did not. But it is this government now that is working from a realistic point with the IMF and other international organizations to bring a realistic picture or sanity to our economy. Like you see about the issue of the advices on wage bill, that the issue of salary needs to be cut from certain level. This government is now engaging into it. With the issue of the letter, these things happen. These things happen. The government, like any other government, can be able to look at certain things, and look at it as a priority. Hello?
Yes, you reached your time.
Okay.
All right. So let's move on now to the June 7th protests.
Oh, I thought you were going to give all of us the 2 minutes to address this issue of the.
I I did. And maybe you didn't hear me, Prince, when I called time, but let's try to be more aware of it.
Okay. Can you mute us when our time is up? Because
Yeah, can you do that so that we can be able to?
continue hearing something that is not factual. At least let's be cognizant.
Well, I'll leave it to Dennis to control the mute.
Right. Now, we have a caller on the line because we're now opening our phone lines for people to be able to join.
Okay.
Caller, your name and where you're calling from.
The caller probably needs to lower their volume.
Okay, as we're waiting, can I come in and just weigh on what you asked, the question you asked?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so you asked about the letter, the donor's letter. And so I'm just going to address the donor's letter that was sent. And in our Liberian English, the people say we were making plenty withdrawals. The government were making plenty withdrawals that will in turn be negative to Liberia as a country when it comes to giving money. That's what the people said. They were making a lot of withdrawals. So donor money is money that other countries send to a country that is not well established, like a third world country like Liberia, where the economy is not, up and going like the way it should be. They send these monies there so that they can be able to impact the economy with things like farming, agriculture, and different things like, stuff for the masses. And so when our letter was sent, it was sent because since this government came into being, they didn't mention Ellen's government though. They said this government. Since this government came, there was an excessive amount of money being taken out. And that will be a negative impact to the country. When they say a negative impact or potential negative impact, it meant that in time to come, these countries like Japan and all the other countries that put together will no longer send money, so that place will be empty. So now when the country is looking to do things, they will not have nowhere to go to because the coffers will be empty. That's what that donor letter meant.
Thank you.
The thing that was, okay.
There's a caller waiting on the line.
Okay.
Because all calls are coming. Caller, please, where are you calling from?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I have a question from Mr. Prince Sharif.
Your name?
Oh, my name is Jerome Cohn. Thank you so much.
Okay, Jerome, your question. Your question,
yeah.
Please.
Right. I think Ms. Knuckles asked the question, but I didn't get his answer well. Sharif, that the U.S. Embassy and donors' assessment of the Liberia economy is what partisan?
All right. Thank you. Prince, is about the letter. Jerome wants to know your answer to that question, specifically about the donors and the embassies, their letter to the government.
The letter that was written by the embassy to the government only tells you the kind of interest that the international community has in this government, and that they know that this government is on the right path. The reason for which I'm saying this is not something strange. People don't like us to tell them what happened in the past, but the records are there. We know what happened with the Ebola fund under the Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf regime. But did we receive communication from the international community? Did it run all over or people leak it? Well, if that communication happened, well, that was it. But if you see these kind of communications are coming up from the international community, it means that they know that this government is credible. They know that this government is able to resuscitate the economy, and they know that the path that they have advanced this government to be on, that this government must be on the path. Relative to the money that they talk, that people are alleging that government took this money, government took that money, in that letter, did you see anywhere in that letter that it tells you that government took a specific amount from where and when and how and where? No. Okay. But the letter was just intended to, in other words, put this government on par. It was intended to put this government on par. That, look, this is what we want you to do. This is what we want you to do. There's the reason why the president His Excellency have put a fence around that particular money or the donor fund. So this
Okay,
is just to tell you that.
Is there another caller?
Yeah.
No, can I answer the question on the letter? Because
no, before you come in, let me get a few of my callers in, and then we can use that. Caller your name and where you let me get 2 callers in, then we can use it to discuss their questions, okay?
Yeah, but I want to discuss the letter first, so that way if you take callers, then that way we lost track of
Yeah,
what they
you know, yeah, let me say what he has to say. He still has to come in.
Yeah, let's address it. Let
me have one caller just say a question, then caller your name and your question.
Hello, are you talking to me?
Yes,
okay.
Nathaniel.
Okay, hello, yes, my name is Marvin Gaye, and I come from Minnesota.
Okay.
Listen, my contribution first and foremost is geared towards we seems to be more partisan nowadays when it comes to our Liberian. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
We seem to be more partisan in Liberia. We seem to be more kind of connected to whatever political party we find ourselves, with than being in Liberia. Look, all of the issues we're discussing, the reason why we're saying some of the things we're saying is maybe because we have food on our table. We are blessed that we are in the diaspora, America, and other places, and we have food on our table, and we can afford to send our kids to school, so we can have the kind of discussions that we're having when it comes to life. We are no longer earnest with the issues.
Yeah.
Okay.
We talk, but maybe on a Sunday like this, we have a car to drive, we got food to eat, our kids are okay, maybe they are home watching TV. The common people, the people who are in Liberia that are suffering, it seems like we have no time for them. We are loyal to partisanship than being in Liberia.
Okay.
And it has completely doubted our consciences.
All right.
We see black and we say it's white. This is wrong. Until we can realize that what we are doing to not going to go anywhere. All of the discussions we're having now, we have to start with honesty. If we are not honest with ourselves to deal with the issues that we have, we are not going to go anywhere. Because the thing here is not only about the president, it's not only about the leadership.
Right.
It's even about the followers and all of us.
Right. So
we need to be honest and deal with these issues as they come our way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marvin. All right. George, you have the floor.
Yeah. Let me say something here real quick. I've been very silent on a lot of things here, but I want to set the record straight here. The fact that the host, when you said that we all people meant to talk about previous government, I want to say that was disingenuous and that was not factual. If you can recall, when we're discussing the issue of more to me, I even said that the Unity Party government of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is to be blamed and the CDC government. I think that was dishonest to me because I was factual in calling out the Ellen government. It was due to poor leadership. Let's set the record straight on that. When it comes to the Unity Party government, I have been consistent on my argument that one of the problems that I had with my own government that I supported was the issue of income inequality. A lot was done. I still felt that more could have been done. So the notion that we have not spoken out is not true.
Well, can you agree that? Okay.
No, let me finish. My point here was that we were not being factual, we were being partisan. And I took responsibility for that issue. So I just want to get that straight up. But let's get to the issue of the letter.
Yeah, the letter.
Prince Sherry said the embassies were cautioning the government because they know the government is credible. Fortunate. And let me say this very clear. That letter in itself was a disgrace to the government.
That's true.
It told the world that the government of George Weah is indisciplined. They lacked accountability. They lacked transparency. Let us look at the moment leading up to that letter. You people always refer to that one letter. It was not one letter. There were 3 letters in succession. The first letter came from the United Nations. The United Nations asked the government of George Weah to be accountable to projects that they took money for. It didn't take 2 weeks later before the letter came from the 9 ambassadors. Less than 2 weeks in follow, the World Bank put up a letter where they asked Minister 12 to put back their $3.2 million and even return their computer. That tells us that this government has no credibility.
Right.
Where in the world? You see, when I hear people talking about it happened before, Ellen was in power for 12 years. Name me one instance that the international community wrote such a letter to the Unity Party government. If Prince's argument is true. And you did never say it happened before. Listen, folks, we can play politics all we want, like I said consistently. When I come to discuss this issue, this is why I try to be as factual as I can be, because I understand that many people only support government when your relative is in government. The government is good because you have appointment in government. And like I always say as a young man, one of the reasons why I defend the government and I can call out my own government, I did not get $1. The 12 years the Unity Party government were in power, not from no government official. Anybody will tell you. But when we come here to this platform, let's give the people the facts. Let us put this lying aside. This is why it irritates me when I come to this conversation and I know the facts and you know the facts, and to sit here and people lie in your face like I have to say you don't know what is happening. The World Bank raised concern. The people, even the BBC had a joke. They echo, put the people money back. What does that show? You cannot take money that is intended for projects and you eat the money. You cannot account for those money. What are you doing? You want to spend it on your wasteful spending budget? You want to ride private jet? That's what you want money for? What are you doing? Are you investing in the educational sector? Are you investing in the healthcare sector? Taking money to fly private jet to take 53 people to Beijing, to go to the Shaolin Temple, take your wife to the hair store? That's what you taking the money for? You've depleted your own national reserve. Are you taking more money? The government is not responsible. Let's say the truth.
Thank you, Josh. And before I bring in the next caller, I want to respond to your statement. When I said that the Ellen factor, I was speaking generally to what the discussion has been, not specifically what has been said here.
Okay.
So
all right.
For you to, yes, because let me give you an example. When things happen, we say this thing happened Ellen time. What did you do? During the protest, when the we are government tried to discourage the protest, what people were saying, oh, CDC, you protested, and there were videos to evidence to show that CDC was protesting during the Ellen regime. So my question was, at what point do we refer to the Ellen government? That was the Ellen factor I was talking about.
Okay.
Let's go back to our caller. Caller, your name and where you calling from? Caller?
Which number?
You, go ahead.
Well, I want to say thanks to your panelists, and I want to say thanks to you and your host and your co-host. My question to Mr. Lobbo, I want to ask Mr. Lobbo. The matter 12 years, we live in America, we know the private sector is one of the more employees in America. My question to Mr. Lobbo, how many jobs in the private sector and they left in the private sector, and what was the job employment rate among foreign citizens? And from there, my question to the Prince is, since the government took over as the government, what are some of the measures they are put into place in terms of press control? Because I see since the government took over for everything, so like when they decide like to negotiate for rights, the price of rent go up. I want to know from the Prince, what are some of the measures and the policies?
Thank you. And what's your name again?
Momo Saki.
Thank you, Momo. Let's start with you, Josh, on the private sector for honor the president.
All right. So I want to thank the caller for such a brilliant question, and let me answer this question hands on. You see, the issue of unemployment in Liberia, first, we need to take this time to educate our people. One of the numbers I always hear people talk about is the issue. They talk about unemployment is 80% in Liberia. Today, please, folks, I want you to desist from that. It's not possible. There's no way that unemployment will be 80% in Liberia. You have a functioning police and functioning government. What happened under the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, first and foremost, when you talk about private sector investment, right? You all can agree that 66 concessional agreements were signed. Normally, from a business perspective, the countries that attract foreign direct investments are countries that are stable, are countries that has energy, countries that have good roads. that in itself, you should give the government credit. Because when you look at the infrastructure in Liberia to attract such level of investment, Liberia did not have that infrastructure. No, we were still building the infrastructure. Madam Salif told you in her annual address, her last annual address, that she managed to attract 16.5 billion in foreign direct investment. She also informed you that of that amount, 4.5 billion was spent in the country. What does she mean by that? That means those businesses were setting up. You recall the Ebola had a toll on the country. We were building the hydro. When Ebola struck, the engineers even left and went back to Sweden. They came back after the Ebola subsided. Now, what that means is when the businesses started establishing themselves, right? Let's look at some of those businesses that created jobs. We can look at the China mine today in Bon Mines. We can look at the Veron plantation. We can look at the MGM, the Go company in Grand Cape Mount County. Those were all some of those investments. This is why she told you that all the investment were not fully implemented. Because number one, we have to build the infrastructure. But on the issue of unemployment, one thing I want to make very clear to Liberians today. Unemployment is not calculated by the number of people walking around in the street. Unemployment is calculated by by the number of competent people that are capable and able to do a job and the number of jobs available for them to fill. Because you see someone loading and has no skill, that does not mean he's unemployed. The 80% unemployment number that you people always using, let me help you up today. That number derived from a survey that was done when Chairman Charles Judy Bryan came to power. The international community was sponsored by the United Nations. They wanted to know what employment was like in Liberia. And that survey was only done focusing on the formal sector of employment. In Liberia, we do have two sectors of employment. We have the formal sector and informal sector. The formal sector make up for those that go to offices that you see this and that. The informal sector account for the woman who is a petty trader, the woman who sells dry meat, the woman who sells DK, the woman who has a kobo shop, the boy who has a pen. He is employed. That's an informal sector. So unemployment don't count for them. And let me help you today. Go check unemployment numbers. They will tell you that unemployment in Liberia, it go as far as from 1980 to 2017. The data say it averaged under 6%. The unemployment number for Liberia averaged under 6%. I'll tell you today. So because you see someone on the street, don't mean they're unemployed. Does the man have skill? Can he work on an assembly line? Is he educated? For you to count in the number. And I want for us to please, let's leave from here with the facts today. Please, folks. And let me have one thing I want to make very, very clear on the issue of unemployment. There's no way you will have unemployment to be at 80% when the United Nations told us that she spent 500 million on peacekeeping mission in Liberia. But if you look at the UNMIL staff, over 60% were foreigners. What does that tell you? That means you do not have the workforce to support the labor market in your own country. You don't. They're not saying that we're unemployed. No, you don't. Because few people you see them talking, what are their skills? If you had the skill set, they would not have brought in the number of people because normally they're supposed to hire locals. So we have to address this problem from a factual perspective. This is why I have called on national government to introduce a policy of youth rehabilitation and capacity building. This is why I recommended when this government took over that I will move that the government cut its national budget by 33%. Let's move that money to investing in human capacity building. Let's spend 30% of our national budget on social development. Let's build the mind of young people. These young men you see loading cars, you can't count the unemployment number of folks. It's not going to get us anywhere. This is why this analysis have not worked. This is why this argument have not held any magnitude. So I just hope I was able to throw light on this number.
Prince, part of the question was for you.
Yeah. With the issue, I want to speak on this issue of unemployment and employment. I was in Liberia when Legis carried on her statistic. And let me say here that the statistic that was carried on by Legis under the government of Madam Jarry-Osterhout about employment or unemployment, that was a very unrealistic analysis or statistic that was carried on. At no point in time, under the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government, or under the previous government, that there was a report that came up that Liberians were employed in terms of the employment rate, that Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf employed more Liberians, or more Liberians were employed under Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf as compared to this government. We know what happened, where people went to people's houses and was asking them. These are the political definitions, like what my brother said. These are the political definitions, or the political, what we call sugarcoating word of employment. Somebody come and talk this. When we talk about employment, one, you know what employment entails. You must be gainfully employed, whether be it in the private sector or whether be it in the public sector. Let's look at Liberia before the inception of this government. What was the level of employment from the private sector? When you look at the level of employment from the private sector, look at the level of employment from the governmental sector or from the public sector, you will see that from all indication, there was a negative number in terms of employment. Now, when it comes to this particular government, with employment, you are seeing a realistic picture of employment. That is, people being gainfully employed in government. You are seeing that the private sector is now taking a different approach about employment. We are all of those constructions companies in Liberia. What was happening? Were people employed? No. At the end of the day, these people were used as day boys, where they will bring one or two persons and say, you'll work for today, or you'll work for 5 hours. When you're finished working, you'll go home. They finish with that other group. Another group come. They finish, they go home. Is that what you call employment? That is not employment. Where the person don't have job security, or where the person that's secure, or is not gainfully employed, you call that employment. So it is this government that you see that things are changing. That you see, as we speak to you, the labor law is being fully adhered to by some of these companies. There are challenges. Oh, yes, there are challenges. But you see that this government is enforcing the labor law. Today, you are seeing what happening now in Firestone. That workers are agitating. You are seeing what is happening around. So these are indications to tell you that this government is serious about the issue of employment, and that Liberians should not be employed on a daily basis, a daily hire, but that they should be gainfully employed. Now, when it comes to what the government is doing about this issue of price control, you know, in Liberia, and we will continue to say, we're not sugarcoating, there are serious challenges, but this government is doing everything to be able to mitigate the problem that is in Liberia. Now, when it comes to the issue of price control, there are so many factors that are responsible for price control in Liberia. The first thing, please, I think I must be respected. I'm about to be very, maybe, I don't know, but I think I must be respected. When I'm given the opportunity to talk, I should not be bamboozled. I should not be raptured by anybody. I will not take that again. Let it be very, very clear. I will not take that. We have a moderator here who is controlling the time. Having said that, I'm going to.
Okay, I haven't.
Anybody. Having said that, when you look at the issue of price control, this has been a serious problem in Liberia from day one. It has been a serious problem. The reason is most of our goods and services that we have in Liberia, where they come from the international. We don't even have Belabo, or we don't have even pepper. All of these goods and services are bought from other countries. And we all know that the economy itself heavily depends on what we call the US rate. As we speak to you, this is a global issue, that there is a sharp increase in terms of, you know, the challenges that the world is facing that is affected globally with the issue of the US rate. So when Liberians who go out or go in China and other areas buy their goods or those things to come and sell in Liberia, what do you expect? That they will sell it in order for them to be able to get the profit.
We have 10 seconds. We have someone else on the...
You don't expect me to buy something. Maybe 5 years ago, I bought a pen for $20 US. And now in this particular day, age, and time, I'm buying this pen for $50 US. You expect me to come and sell it at the same price. But what the government is doing, there's the reason why the government has relaxed some of its policy. Now, when it comes to the import permit, you see that there has been some step taken by this government to reduce the issue of tariff. Because when the issue of tariff is reduced, even if you go to buy the pen at a certain level, or you go to buy the rice at a certain level, and you are not paying the taxes that you used to pay 5 years ago, what will happen? The price will come down. So the government have taken this measure.
Okay.
The import payment tax.
Bring your argument to a close, please.
Or the taxes on these basic goods and commodities, giving Liberians the payment to go out and bring in those things that we need, and Liberians the exclusive right to be able to import these things. These are all the measures that government is taking to be able to help to mitigate the issue of price on the market.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Prince.
Please attack me on the issue of employment. Can I clarify on that?
No, let's we want to bring that employment issue to summarize. Unemployment by economic definition, say you should be out of job and you should be actively looking for work. But that's the technical definition. I want to go back to the line because time is fast spent. So let me get 2 more callers on the line, and then Danielle, I can throw it back to you. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
This is Jonathan calling from Texas.
Jonathan, your question or comment? 1 minute.
My comment. The first thing is it's a disservice to this platform that Prince will sit on this platform and tell people that the IMF wrote the country that letter because the IMF see them as a government that know how to manage the country and all these things. And he's claiming that the past government was all into this kind of illegal borrowing, all that kind of stuff. They are in government. If the government had done that, they should be able to expose the document. Well, IMF had noticed that indeed those things they are doing was illegal and was harming other institutions that they had on the ground that was working. He shouldn't be saying that. That is very disservice to this platform. And Prince should know that they came into power not to do the same thing the past government was doing, but to improve the system. So if you come in government and you're doing the same thing the past government did, then who are you? Are you coming to do what? You said 68 in concession. How will it be agreed when you have all your representatives all in the hub and they all sign it, but none of them got the bold courage to say our representatives are all and it's signed those 68 bookers concession. Is that fair? The whole day you want to attack other people and say this other thing and want to praise the government. Tell the people the truth. Let us do this for our country and not for our personal gains. This is our country and our country is damaging praise. You people got to speak up. You people learn your pledge in school. You got to follow those steps of the pledge and not follow the step of your political party. Thank you.
Thank you. If you just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are having a roundtable of talk show hosts. We have Mr. Josh Lobbo, Mrs. Jessica Jarry, and Prince Sharif. Back to you, Danielle, so we can move on as I bring in 1 more caller. This caller has been calling, so let me let in this caller before I go back to you. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
My name is Masaboy Hamadu. I'm calling from Pennsylvania.
Hamadu, your question or comment, please.
Yeah, but are you hearing 2 different voices?
Because your radio is on.
Yes. Hello?
Lower your Facebook.
The volume on the Facebook
Lower the volume of your phone, then we can of the Facebook that you're watching.
Yeah, hello?
Yes, hello.
Oh, okay, hold on 1 minute. Y'all give me 1 minute, please. Hold on. Yes, hello?
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm calling from the state of Pennsylvania. My name is Masaboy Hamadu.
Your question or comment, please.
Yeah, my question and comment to Sharif is that I have been following Prince Sharif's show from day 1, and up to present, I have been monitoring Prince. And you cannot be a talk show host and you continue to back the government. You don't come out to say the facts that are prevailing in the country. On his talk show, I've been listening to him keenly. He's giving misinformation to those who are not informed. But we who are informed, we're following the government activities in the bureau, we know. How will Prince Sharif talk about the letter that was written by the bureau ambassadors and what have you, and he's saying that it was praises that they were given to the government? Prince Jarry should stop misleading the Liberian people on social media. Those who don't have the time to listen to him, and those of us who following activities in the country, we shouldn't be told such a thing on the social media. And I noticed that you continue to give him more time when his time is off. You continue to allow him to say to us who listening to you people. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'll take the blame. I'll be a little more vigilant on the 2-minute response times. Yeah, and I'll just move on when your time is up. Okay. All right, so moving on, because we've been on the economy for a while, let's talk about the July 7th protest, the Save the State protest. Lady J, we haven't heard from you in a while. Were you in support of the protests? Why or why not?
Thank you for the question, and I just want to say thanks to my other panelists for being tolerant of each other as we continue the show. To address your question, the June 7th protests, I was kind of on the fence for the protest, and I'll give you my reasons. I felt that based on the magnitude of how, it was being publicized, there would have been something of, maybe there would have been like a chaos during the protests. So I felt they should actually go to the table and discuss this. But then June 7th did come and it was peaceful. So I give that to the makers of the protest because it was a peaceful protest. But then there are different things surrounding the June 7th protests at this point in time that leaves me with a big question mark. And I'm not even going to go into the petty gossips and everything like that. I'm just going to go into like the report. For example, there was a report that should have come up to give us a financial report, and the financial report wasn't up to a certain standard of how monies came in and what was used. And based on that, it left a big question mark to me. I know one of my panelists here, George, is a member is a proud, supportive member of CAB. I would really like for him to come after I have spoken to kind of give me a breakdown of where the financial report is at this time.
Okay, before your time. Mr. Lobbo, you can go ahead and give us your thoughts on the June 7th protest, why you were in support of it, and I'll give you 3 minutes so you can also respond to Lady J's question about the financial report of the donations given to the Council of Patriots for the protest.
All right, thank you very much. So please let me know when it's 15, 20 seconds, okay, left.
Okay.
Let me begin first and foremost. I supported the June 7th protest. I was one of the leaders of the June 7th protest. We went to DC. As you know, we all could not have gone to Liberia. I think the reason why I supported the protest, it was very important. When you have a government that is proceeding wrongly, when you have a government where it takes power, and in less than 18 months, the president is a millionaire. He has acquired over 49 brand new housing units. He flies private jets, while hospitals in Phoebe, hospitals in Grand Bassa, they are shutting down. While students in Bangor County could not start classes because of leaking roof and lack of basic school materials. I think it was necessary for the Liberians to come out and let the government know that they were not satisfied with how their country was being governed, because the government is elected by the people and should be for the people. The government is supposed to provide the social need. That is the responsibility of the government. So I could not have been any more supportive of anything. I could not have been any more supportive of anything but to come out to join a cause, such a peaceful gathering of Liberians to inform their government that indeed we were not happy. Now let's go to the issue of financial records. What I've heard consistently, and I have said over and over, the CAB released a financial statement. If there are issues within the financial statement that you have question about, I want you to point those out. But every single person I have had, I'm yet to see any accusations of substance. What I sense more is about people who felt they were disrespected. People felt that they were not fully involved in the decision-making process. That is what I sense that happening. And I want to be very, very clear here today. As far as I'm concerned, CAB is strong. The reason for June 7 was for us to assemble Liberians in the street to peacefully petition their government. We know in the history, when Liberians assembled on April 14, 1979, people died. That is why many people fear. Unfortunately for us, we were able to put over 10,000 people in the street and not a single soul got hurt. And I think that's something, regardless of how you feel about what happened with COP, I think we need to give those guys credit to be able to control Liberians, as upset as some of those people with all the difficulties they are going through, with the constrained economic hardship, that they were able to stay gathered and were peaceful. And while they see Jefferson Koji with all the death in the city, while the government continued to merry-make and abuse them, they still were peaceful. I think and that's why I support the protest. And if we had to do it again, I, George Preston Lobbo Jr., will lead another protest.
10 seconds.
I'll rest my case there.
Okay.
Let me bring in your caller, Daniel. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
Hey, my name is Mark, and I'm calling from Pennsylvania.
Your question or comment, Mike?
Yeah, my comment is this. I sat down here and listened to you guys talking about the economy and giving the two panelists the chance to tell us what this government has done or has not done. And again, I clearly heard Prince Sharif telling us about what I call the Samuel Tour economics. You see, the Samuel Tour economics is where you provide no solution to the problem, but you shift blame to your predecessor. This is exactly what Prince was again exhibiting here today. The same thing Samuel Tour has been saying from time to time. No solution, but shifting blame to Ellen Johnson study. Look, Prince, let's get this straight. When Barack Obama took over the American economy in 2008, at the time the economy was facing serious problems, he formulated, he came up with ways and means to mitigate problems. You guys should take this bull by the horn and suggest or formulate some at least take us out of this mess to study percentage. Please try and do that instead of over shifting blame on Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. That is not a solution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So let's go to you, Prince, to respond to that, and also the protest and COP.
Most often people say you don't talk about the previous government, but it's unfortunate. If we don't tell you where we are coming from, then what will you, how you will understand where we are and where we are going. So it is important. The issue of the protest. I think this protest was one of the most unfair, dumbest, and self-seeking protests I have ever seen in my life as a young man in Liberia. The intent of this protest was for a few group of individuals who over the period are just used to getting free money from government to exercise their will over the Liberian people. When you look at the entire protest from the onset, we told the Liberian people that these guys were jokers, they were unserious, and all they needed or all they wanted was government job.
2 minutes.
And to free money. But they didn't understand. But later, they got to know it. Judging from what happened. Now, my brother said they didn't have money. According to what John said, oh, there was no money. That is just unfortunate because we all know that there was a huge amount that was realized from the protest. Now, the money that was realized from the protest, how was that money spent? They brought a paper and said that that was a financial report. Look, we are not fools here. When you talk about financial report, that is not even a semblance of even a market report before you talk about financial report. A financial report must be backed by all of, I repeat, all of the evidences that follow expenditure. Or when you talk about a financial report, it must be backed with all, I repeat, all of the evidences. You bring in a paper and say
1 minute.
5,000 went to water. Excuse me?
I say you have 1 minute.
No, I don't think I have 1 minute, please. I'm observing the time here.
Yes, I've been keeping
When
the
you look
time on
at
my
the
phone.
report,
I
all
gave
of
you
what
3
was in
minutes.
that report was not even the fact. You bring a report and said a financial report that is not backed by facts. You come up and say, cold water, we spent $500 for publicity. We spent $200. How you spend that money? How was it spent? In financial report, when you are giving a financial report, in the sense of a financial report, there is a clear breakdown. It is followed by receipt. It is followed by voucher and etc. etc. If you want to be transparent, but to write something and say it's a financial report, I think that was a play. And it further exposed these guys' inability when it comes to transparency.
20 seconds.
He who comes with equity must come with clean hands. These guys collected the money as we speak now. That was not even the realistic report. The realistic report is yet to come. When Henry Costa went on a show and said $250 was given to the EFF, where in that report you saw $250 that was given to the EFF?
Time.
Where in that report?
Time. We're at time now. You've had 3 minutes.
Okay, Daniel, one more, my last caller, and then we'll go to you. Caller, go ahead, please, quickly.
Hey, thank you, Ms. Job. My name is Robert Gogward from Atlanta. First, I'd like to say thanks to the panelists. I think they've been on and debating the issues. George is my brother. I was just calling though because George made a comment about the success of the June 7th protest. Guess on your show some 2 weeks ago, and I think almost 3 weeks, and we were analyzing the protest. And we were talking about how do we measure success. And George just mentioned that the organizers, they were able to put about 10,000 Liberians on the street. And one of the comments that I made was, I don't think the success of any protest should be measured by the number of protesters. It should be measured by the outcome. And since the protest, I would like to ask George if he could answer this question: what has been achieved? The petition was not read on the date of the protest, which I thought was a mistake. If that was the purpose of the protest, it was read a day after. And since the petition was read, what has been achieved? What has been discussed? Some of the core issues that the protesters had. And so I just wanted to say, we should not be measuring success by the numbers. We apply the same mindset when it comes to politics, right? Everyone is making noise over a crowd, the number of crowd in the streets. Are those crowds translating into votes? So we should apply the same thing. I think that the success of this protest has not yet been determined. Maybe we will find out what happened 2-3 months from now. But until the government starts to address, which are some legitimate concerns that they have, until the government starts to address some serious issues and some serious demand from COP, I would say this protest was not successful. Yes, it was peaceful, and we commend the organizers. We also commend the police department, who was there to ensure that there were no casualties. But the success of this protest cannot be measured by the number of folks that went in the street. One last comment I want to make is in regards to the financial statement. Now, I have heard no complaints about any irregularities or things like that when it comes to the finances, but we all know what a financial report of standard should look like. And if George will agree that what was posted on social media is a financial report of that standard, then I'll be disappointed. Thanks for accepting my call.
Thank you.
So can I answer?
Of course, Josh.
Beautiful. So first and foremost, let me just take the last part of this comment. He talked about if I would agree with him that what was put for as a financial statement is not of standard. My argument would be there's different kinds of financial statement. If a business is writing a financial statement, it's different. If you're writing a financial statement for a church, it will be completely different. Because in a business, when we're talking about asset liability and showing capital or net balances or outstanding liabilities, it will be different. The COP does not have outstanding liabilities. So I don't know what standard he wants us to use. We got different standards depending on who's presenting the statement. I think it was very simple. What the cop tried to show was that people collected money, what their money was used for, and I think it was effective. If we had outstanding liability, then you can judge it. But let me say something. He talked about the protest must not be measured. The success of the protest can be measured by numbers. Then I differ with him, because if you agree, the same Robert and I, what made George Weah to be president is the numbers. How do you win? It's the number that make you win. Listen, like I said consistently, you don't have to agree with COP, but I'll tell you, for the time it took COP to be formed and to gather the number of people in the streets, it has not happened in Liberia. I stand to be corrected. The 1979 April 14 riot, it took months and months for COP that took less than 3 months to be able to get that number of people in the street without any violence. And the issue that the petition was not read physically, it was not our fault. You must follow the facts. It was the government who failed to uphold her commitment. The government told us in front of the international community that she was going to make the vice president available to receive the petition. On the day of the reading of the petition, we learned that the vice president was sick. So when you want to point at COP, why not ask the government that failed to fulfill her commitment to you? But you people will not do it. Now let's go fast forward. Now when Joel was sick, which happens to be the vice president, then they sent Benson Garfinley and the justice minister. When the both of them came, the leaders of COP, they told them that, okay, we are going to present our petition to you guys, but this is our demand. There are 20 Liberians that have been held over 48 hours. It is against the Constitution and it is unlawful. Can those guys be released? The justice minister and the foreign affairs minister said they were going to consult and would get back to COP. They left and they now returned. So the notion that COP didn't read it, which was a mistake, why not you say the government that was unprofessional and ethical and did not keep a commitment to our people? The president who left the country and left the city and went to Buchanan. You see, folks, let me say this, Robert. I'll be very clear. What COP was able to do was to gather people in the street. And I think we're able to throw light on all the ills in government. Al Jazeera carry it, CNN carry it, BBC carry it, all the major international outlets carry it. What happens now, the burden of proof lies on the government. The actions are up to the government to take it. If not, when we do come out of another protest, it will be justifiable. Now you are asking us today the result. Now it is up to the government. Because once we publish the petition in the newspaper, that means you got it. You must read the laws. The Constitution makes it clear. So either way, the state got it. So whatever they do here is up to them. But we can assure the government that this is not a one-off. This is just the beginning to many more to come. And that's how we end on that.
A point of injection. A point of injection.
Thank you. Prince.
No, you can't. The question was not for you, sir.
Prince, let's hold on. Let's.
I did not when you answer question, I will address to you.
No,
hold on, Judge. Hold on, the both of you. Just hold on, Prince.
To inject. There's an intellectual forum.
Hold on,
inject is not a crime. You can inject, even if
hold on,
the topic
I want
or the
Jessica
question is not
to.
directed at you.
I want Jessica to weigh in on this. We are all out of time. I want Jessica to share her thoughts on this issue.
Okay, so thank you for allowing me to come in. George, I agree with what you just said, and but some of the things that you said I don't agree with, so I'm going to kind of like go into those things. Yes, it was a very successful protest. That was the reason why I didn't think that I was on the fence, because I thought it wasn't going to be peaceful. That was my main reason for not, like backing COP at the time, because I thought maybe based on the magnitude of how you guys had set it up and the way, it was widespread, I felt the opposition was going to come and want to kind of mess the whole thing up. There was going to be these different things going on, but it was successful. So that's great. My only concern now is, again, the report. I understand they got different kinds of report, but when we look at the report, like they said, printing of leaflet, 500 musicians, 500 private and security for the parade, 500. We just want to know let's break it down. So if you pay a private security company, who is this private security company? Because we're looking for transparency in the report. We're not just looking to see that where the monies were spent. Now, there was mobile money that some people said they spent in Liberia, which I believe, because some people did pay in Liberia and some people paid on the GoFundMe. We have not received any amount of what that mobile amount was, okay. And we need to have it in the report. Another thing that they stated too, they said, communication was for $60. Where did this communication, was it cars that were bought? It's too broad a topic for us to say, for us to understand. Then they have transportation and vehicle rental. Which rental company did they rent these vehicles from? So these are some of the things that I had a concern with, because all things being equal, I want to be respectful of other people's beliefs. I want to be respectful of other people's ideas and concepts that they bring. But I also want to be able to see the accountability and the transparency of these things, so that when I do speak on a subject, I know that I'm speaking from a factual place. I'm not speaking based on emotions. And that's where we find ourselves a lot of times. So that is what I have a concern with. The next concern that I have was CAP didn't read or give this thing out. And yes, as you rightly stated, it was the blame of the government and CAP. But then at the end of the day, when those other people were sent to receive it, I felt they should have presented it, because that is when the whole world was watching. So I felt the blunder on that part. They could have just presented that thing instead of going when everything was done. Yes, when everything was done, going to that Sunday thing and sitting there and reading it, I felt it took a chunk away from them, because these were implementations that they wanted the government to go about and do. So not handing it over and reading it officially took away from them. Thank you.
Thank you. Before time.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me answer this on the issue she raised, because she brought it to me. So let me address that. Here's what I want you to know, my sister.
2 minutes.
The issue of security company, right? The reason why we must not forget, though, the government was threatening CAP. The government poses threat. So some of these things have been kept confidential to protect those people. Because the government has a reputation of going after lawmakers, of security company that provided security for us. It will be a threat to those people. You will stop them from, the government could go after them. Let us not allow this to put people's lives at risk. So some of these things, I get it. I know you wanted to be in detail, but some of these measures are taken with government that has a reputation for violating the rule of law. So we can't put those security companies at risk. And when on the issue of cars, like you talk about rental car, anybody that went to that protest, didn't you see lorries with people on top of those lorries, folks? Let us be factual here. Didn't you see musicians performing at the rally? How do you think they got there? So what is it that we want to argue about? I have to say they said musicians were there and there were no musicians. They said lorries were there were no lorries. Is that not true? So some of these things, I get your concern. You have a great point that they need to be more detailed about it. But I would say too, no one is infallible. You must also understand that all the other people that held protests in the past, it took them months and months to prepare. Let's give CAP some credit. Let's give CAP credit. This is why some of us have come up front saying that whatever protest we plan moving forward will be done, and these things will be prevented. We will do more. So we are not infallible. That's what I want for us to do. There's first time for everything. We've learned from those things, and we hope that these things will be prevented. But on the overall, I tell anybody, look, listen, I have not seen facts to disprove what CAP put up. I'll tell you straight up front. If anybody do have factual information, give it to me, and I'll go against CAP. People know me. But until then, I'm not convinced. I have not seen anything. And I just hope I address your concerns.
Thank you.
Dennis, did you have another caller?
Right. No, yeah, I told them to post their comments, because I have one more issue as the last one that I want to raise.
Okay.
If your table is clear now, and that is volunteerism. Most of the time we discuss politics, which very passionate about our country, but there are other things happening in the country that we want to sometimes highlight. One of it, and I'm going to show that to you in a PowerPoint. There's a lady in Canada who donated 10 charcoal 10 bags of coal each to 10 women, doing so as to elevate them from what they are currently doing, free of charge. So you see the bags of coal. Those are the 10 women. And she tells me that she used like $400 maximum. Also, what I want to show here is, and the lady is in Canada, is Nancy Reeves. She, at random, she got some money, talked to somebody, say, find 10 women that are in need, and give them 10 bags of coal each so that they can sell and improve their own livelihood. And I thought that was commendable, that I wanted to share. Second, there is a group in Liberia called Youth for Change, and you can see their flyer. During the vacation, they are doing something called Education Empowerment Hub. That is like a vacation school for kids. So it said the e-hub is Youth for Change Incorporated design vacation flagship program that helps you parents keep your children engaged with educational and recreational activities during the vacation. I thought to share this and see, as talk show host, what role can we play so as to encourage people that are doing this kind of ventures?
I'll come in.
Sure.
As talk show hosts, most of us take to discuss these issues because we have deep interest, one, in the country. And the best way we can help to make sure these things are exposed, we have to make sure that these people can get in contact with us, because I never knew anything about this. And showing it shows that at least there is a group of people that are going to be impacted this summer based on Madam Reeves sending call down for people to start their businesses, and these youth that are out there trying to help educate other youth. So it's good to have this kind of information, because I would definitely talk about this on my platform. A lot of times we don't have a balance when it comes to what we have to discuss. A lot of times all that someone talks about is politics and one-sided politics, and it shouldn't be that way. We as hosts and influencers in our community should try to continue to speak on a broader way. When we are informing people, we should make sure that we have the facts to inform. When we are for something, we should be able to have it. It shouldn't just be based on our emotions and how we feel. So we should do a better job, and we should also be able to get these awareness, because once we get it, I'm sure when people get these kind of topics and information, they'll be able to share it. If they don't share it, then there is an issue there when it comes to what we're doing as a community.
Back to you, Daniel.
I will let Prince Sharif go. Let me take a drink since I spoke last. I will let Prince to speak since I spoke last.
Okay. Prince, how do you use your platform to help with volunteerism efforts or just aid in Liberia?
Let me register this dissatisfaction first. I did that from the beginning. Okay. I think in such a gathering or on such a platform, if one wants to inject, call for a point of injection, I think he must be given the opportunity, because this is an intellectual forum, I believe, where we've come to provide some information. But it's unfortunate that when you use this kind of techniques where one person talk and then another person use a follow-up to consume the time, thereby silencing me, I think it is unfair. Let me just be very clear on this. Having said that, for me, by nature, I told you from the beginning, a portion of my profile that I sent to Brother Dennis, I am a volunteer. All of my life, I have been volunteering. Even as I speak to you, despite of my job that I'm doing here, I'm also a volunteer. And I believe what we can do as talk show hosts, or those of us that have the platform, is to provide the platform to people like these, that they can be able to come on the platform and be able to, sell their ideas out. Because on our platform, we have many people that follow us that may not even be interested in the political side, but they want to help and they want to help other people. So I believe those that are, carrying on this kind of initiative, it is difficult, I know, because they have their own schedule and we have our own. But I believe, like, for someone like me, you can reach out to me. There is one number I always post, and that is that number I don't have because, I'm an open person. You can reach out to me, we can discuss, and sometimes we can host you on our shows. And I believe that when you come on this show, because our show is being followed by so many people from around the world, they will get to know what you are doing. But sometimes if you don't reach out, it becomes difficult. And I understand that some people may be a bit skeptical because they think that, well, when I reach out to these people, will they give me the time? Will they not request for money? But volunteerism, as I said, is part of my life. I serve as, a volunteer from day one. From 8 years old, I've been serving up to now that I'm a man with children. So I'm still serving. So anything that has to do with volunteerism, empowering people, I am into it. I am into it and into it 100%. Now,
thank you.
So, I just want to say this. So whoever that have the opportunity to reach out to some of us, reach out to us. We'll provide our platform to you for you to articulate your ideas and make sure that, you get it across to other people that you think that you want to reach.
Thank you. George, how do you use your platform to help others?
It's a brilliant question. I think the record should speak for itself. You see, one thing I've tried not to do is people who follow me on the drive will tell you, I always say, I'm guided by one principle that states that there's no limitation to how much we can accomplish as long as you don't care who gets the credit. You see, one thing we've tried to do on the drive is whatever we raise to give back to people, we try to let it out of the public domain. Here in America, we raised some $460 to help somebody, a very prominent person, and we've kept it secret. The other time it was brought to my attention when that little girl, father, beat her and scrub her skin. We raised $250 to the drive, and we gave that money. That's one thing we've done. You see, when people talk about giving back to the community, you see, I try not to brag about what I have done in my life. Because I'll tell you today, the Deputy Finance Minister, Samuel Wolokoli, will tell you. I was the youngest, was trained by UNFPA and the Family Planning Association. I was a peer educator in the Republic of Liberia from 1999 to 2001. I worked before, all right? Let's come to here in America. Here in America where I live, I'm a member of the International Rotary Club in my state. This is me here giving back to my community. You see me there? Speaking to students here. You see the problem we've had in our country, people here, we're not doing anything here. When they go to Liberia, they put them in this position to give back. I don't talk about how much I've given back, but I'll tell you, every different organization in my state, I have supported. And I do these things because I believe that if I give money to the Grand Jide Association that is going to build a library or a market hall in Grand Jide, I am helping my people. I am giving back. So I welcome these people to come to our platform. When this is why I always tell people, when you have a situation, come to me. I may not do in that solution. I might be that person that link you with someone to solve your problem. So I have used my platform in the most professional manner of giving back, finding opportunities to be able to help people. I try not to talk about what I have done in Liberia, how many people I've helped. But I tell you today, folks, as a young man with my age, I have been able to send people to school and they graduate from Smart Institute. I've helped people get through Stella Maris Polytechnic. I've had people today in Liberia that have zinc on their houses because I bought it. I'm not saying it because I want to brag. I don't have it. But the notion that when we do things, or because we don't have the George Lobbo Foundation, the Draft Foundation, for me, it's not about show. It's about giving back. And I want to thank that lady in Canada for such initiative. And I believe that if every single Liberian will be able to help one, if all of us will help one or two persons, we'll be able to impact our country. I'm asking that we Liberians, instead of doing these things individually, if we can be able to consolidate our resources, if we can come together as a whole, I think we'll have meaningful impact than when we are divided. This is why I'm pushing and calling that we unite, that all these different organizations, if we can formulate ourselves into one big force and set up some type of charity fund account, we can be able to achieve a lot in our country. And that's the way forward. So my platform is open, and I look forward to helping anybody that I can.
Thank you. And I know we're nearing the end of the show and we didn't get to touch everything, but I just have one more topic that I'm going to give everybody 2 minutes to just give their thoughts on. So we have the by-elections coming up for the Montserrado County Senator and District 15 representative of Montserrado County. So I don't know if everyone here has a candidate that they're supporting for both races, but I'll give you the opportunity to tell the audience which candidates you are supporting and why. And so just 2 minutes, I'm timing everyone. Lady J, if you're supporting anyone, please.
I think I'd like to be the last on that too. Can I be the last on that? Let's start with Prince or George.
Okay, George, you go ahead, because I think most of us know who you're supporting.
I want to say thank you very much for that question. As you are aware, I'm supporting the candidacy of Ibrahim Darros Dillon, one of Liberia's finest sons, a very humble man, a very peaceful man, a man who has been tested, a man who has been tried, a man who brings more than 10 years worth of experience to government, a man who have worked in the Capitol building, a man who was able to put forward a bill. He was able to put forward a bill today in the Republic of Liberia. We now have Assistant Superintendent for Fiscal Affairs. Even when we had the former senator could not even bring one bill to the floor. Darros Dillon was not a senator, but he was able to pop up a bill. And that bill got to the floor, and today is a law. Thanks to Mr. Dillon. That is why I'm supporting Mr. Ibrahim Darros Dillon. Not only that, he stands for credibility, integrity. Mr. Dillon have made it very clear that the Capitol building is dark, and we all know what he meant by that. He has also said that upon getting to Capitol building, he's going to push for the reduction in salaries. He believes that the income inequality is unjust and is unfair. And this is why Mr. Dillon have said that making more than 5,000 will be wrong. And he's going to push for reform. He's taking a bill to the Capitol building to make sure that they can be able to reduce lawmakers' salary. Let's go to district number 15, where I support Tella Ure. As far as I'm concerned, this lady impressed me. The other day on the Costa show, I had never listened to her, but I will tell you, if you never listen to it, go and listen to it. That girl intellectually murdered the president of the republic. That day, I can say intellectually, Joshua was murdered by Tella Ure. She articulated the issue, and she is willing to give 100% of her salary and allowances to her district. I think Liberia could not ask for anything better. District number 15 could not ask for anything better. And to all you females, I think this is very impressive. I see her as a bright, smart, intelligent young lady. And I think this is time we give her the credit. Thank you very much. And those are my candidates.
Thank you. Prince, who are your candidates you're supporting, if you're supporting any, and why?
I am supporting the candidacy of Madam Bonita Sisiwe. And the reason is very simple. Earlier, we talked about this issue of gender-based violence in Liberia. Even though it is not restricted to female, both male and female are victims of, gender-based violence. But we know that in Liberia, it's different. You observe that our sisters, our mothers, have been at the greatest part of the disadvantaged end of this issue of sexual-based or gender-based violence. And the reason is very simple. When you do not have people who feel the pain like you feel, who understand what you understand, and can clearly articulate your feeling, people will always play politics with issues that will affect you. But if you elect, and that we will be electing Madam Polita Wea, you will know that the CDC is very sensitive. When we talk about this issue of gender sensitivity, it is not about just talking. It must be about empowering people. Like Sisi, today you see that our election is very clearly demonstrated by giving Sisi the opportunity. This is a lady who did not just come up on the wings of politics. She was contributing to Liberia from the very initial. This lady has her own NGO He has her own NGO and have been contributing towards the life of Liberians,
30 seconds.
especially those that are disadvantaged, the women, children and orphans. And she understands the needs of women and know the cross-cutting issue in our society. She can better articulate those issues that affect the marginalized in our society. Now, when you come to Abu Kamara is a man of the people. We talk about youth empowerment. One of the reasons for which the young people of Liberia has been at the disadvantaged end is because they have always been used by the so-called political elites. But this government is becoming practical.
You're at time, but try to close. So you're at time to complete your statement.
In empowering the young people. There's the reason why when you look on the other end, we take a gender-sensitive individual, that is, what Madam Polita we are, and we take Abu Kamara, who is a resident, who is a son, and who is a young man, in whom we, the young people that have been marginalized, can see ourselves.
Thank you. Thank you. Lady J, who are you supporting, if any, and why?
I am supporting Magdala Cooper, a philanthropist. She's done some real great things in and out of Liberia, and I would like to see her be a part of the Senate because she's a lady, and ladies have not been given the opportunity or more opportunities to have and play these roles. I feel that if ladies are given this opportunity or women are given this opportunity, they will do a really good job in shaping and changing the structure of what we have right now. I feel that the trajectory of our nation in regards to the way things are right now will be changed when more ladies take up the responsibility of being leaders. I also agree with George when it comes to the representative. Talia has done a good job in her district as we speak. She's has created jobs for over 500 people. And I feel that she will be able to do a good job as a representative. A lot of people have been linking her to her dad and saying, oh, this is it. And I will say, if we cannot break the generational connections when it comes to bad behavior, it comes to certain things from a parent to a child, we will be stuck into the old times. And this is the reason why we still have these different things like female mutilation, genital mutilation still going on right now in Liberia because we have refused to look into the future of where we are now in our modern lives. So I think Talia and Mandela would be the two people that I'm supporting based on that. I'm not a part of any party, but I feel that these will be great candidates for District 15, Monserrate County.
Thank you. So at this time, we'll bring it to a close. We'll just allow you guys to give your final thoughts just on Liberia or anything we haven't touched on. So I'll give everyone 3 minutes. George, we'll start with you. Your final comments. And
I started the gun section, right?
Okay, all right. So, Lady J.
No, I think Prince should go and I will come in the middle of the two guys.
Yeah,
all right,
pushing this thing around.
Unfortunately,
3 minutes.
I will
3 minutes. I give you. What's that?
No, I want for those. Josh said he was the one that.
Okay, I can go ahead. No problem.
No problem.
Okay.
All right. So again, I want to say thanks to Focus on Liberia for bringing me on. It's a privilege to be amongst my two panelists, George. This is my first time meeting you and Prince. I should do more, investigation into the other talk show hosts so that I'm well cognizant of who you people are. But it was great researching the both of you and, seeing what you do. For me, I came into talk show hosting because I felt I had a dream to help change Liberia and change our community. I felt I have great communication skills, and I thought having a platform would help. I used to sympathize with CDC when I started, but I gradually took myself away from that place, and now I stand as an independent. And the reason why I stand as an independent because I feel that sometimes when you have to speak to issues, You have to speak to issues from a broad place. And when you are entangled into, you know, like the political, you know, parties and the cliques and the groups and stuff like that, it kind of sometimes takes away the logic that you need to put into your place when you're trying to pursue people, inform them, educate them about what's going on. Sometimes it gets clouded. My 3 platforms that I have on Everything Liberia: Politics Hour, Let's Talk About It, and Lady J on the Mic. They are diverse because I want to be able to reach different groups of people, and I feel that I've been able to do that. I am looking to see more women coming into the responsibility of even having talk shows and even doing, you know, being leaders in our community here in the diaspora and into Liberia, because I feel that when these things happen, we will see a different Liberia. We'll see a better picture. I like to see the police become more active on cases that come out when it comes to the gender-based violence on our women, our children. And I also would like to see the court system be more, having more, you know, better laws put aside to be able to prosecute people that are doing these things to our women and our children. I feel that the punishments are not well placed, and they're not good, and they're biased. And so there's a lot of people running amok doing a lot of different things, atrocities, when these things can be curtailed if the law comes down on them in a certain way. I just want to say thanks to you guys for allowing me to be on your show. Please follow me. I'm on Everything Liberia. Again, this is Lady J. Thank you.
Thank you, Lady J.
Can we do a coin toss for 2 of you?
Prince, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm tossing the coin. George, it's your turn.
All right. I want to say, well, you said you pick head or tail. Well, you tossing the coin. I'll go ahead.
Okay.
3 minutes.
Why y'all won't have the last say?
All right, let me take this time. No. I want to make sure my time starts when I'm speaking, though.
If that's correct, I pause it so when you start.
All right. I want to begin by saying thanks to all of you Liberians who took upon your basic schedule to be here today to follow us. To those of you who agree and disagree with me, I want to say that I come from nowhere but love and respect for all of you. I read your comments, I take your opinions, I believe in your views, and I respect every view that you express here today. To the host, to focus on Liberia and its leadership, I want to say thanks to all of you for having me. As you know, today is my very first time on such a platform. I also want to thank my 2 panelists here, my good old friend Prince Sharif and Lady J. I want to say thank you very much. This is the beginning, and I believe that this is what we must do as a society. Let us disagree to agree. Let us disagree based on facts and on principles. It's a privilege to be among you guys today. To the co-hosts as well, I want to say thank you very much. I know it's difficult, especially when it has to do with keeping time, but I want to say you did a great job. I appreciate your efforts. Your being here was definitely worth it, and I look forward to being back on this show. Let me say to my fellow Liberians, this is not about what you feel. The reality on the ground is not changing. The situation in our country is real. And this is not fact, it's not fiction. This is not sentiments. The US rate is real. The price of basic commodities are real. The price of gasoline that you see, they are real. The woman that goes to bed hungry right now, she and her children, that's reality. This is not some fiction. The young man you see on the street who tells you that we are suffering in this country is a reality. And I want to speak to you as a brother and as a son, as a friend and as a family member, that all of you, put politics aside. When you elect a government, the government is supposed to provide for its people. This government has failed in every single capacity. No amount of lies will change what is happening. The reality is clear. I want to say to all of you, if you believe that you want to send a message to George Weah, we turn out on June 7th. We now want to have an opportunity on July 8th. Protest. Let's send Tara Yue to the House of Representatives. Let's send Dallas DeLon to the House of Senate. Let's petition Joshua. If Joshua was able to disrespect you and go to Buchanan, now you have an opportunity to give him a petition. This time around, he doesn't send nobody. He will receive the petition from the ballot boxes. And I'm calling on all you Liberians. If you know your parents are suffering, if you know that this is not the economy you want for your country, if you know that you don't want your country to be the laughing stock from BBC, then I ask that show up on July 8th and let's protest. Please join Abraham Darrow to launch his campaign on the 5th of July. This government is trying everything possible, but they cannot stop us. We, the people, power lies in our hand, and we definitely will defeat Joshua. Thank you, and God bless you all, and God bless the Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you. And finally, we have you, Prince Sharif, to give your final thoughts and comments on anything. You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, the only way we will see Liberia with a clear eyes is when we realistically take ourselves from our political catacomb or our political domicile and decide to look at Liberia as Liberians. I've seen that most people are disenchanted because what they wanted or their agenda, their personal agenda, was never met. So because of this, they have taken what we refer to as a ballistic approach. But these are things that will not move this government. This government is focused and is doing everything that will improve the life of the Liberian people. Not what will make me happy as an individual or you happy as an individual, but what will make the Liberian people happy. Now, when it comes to what this government is doing, the writings are on the wall. When you take yourself from in your political shield or shell, then you will see what this government is doing. The first time in the history of Liberia, since the formation of this nation that we call Liberia, that a government can look at students who perform excellently in WAEC and say, go out and learn and equip yourself so that you can serve as a motivational factor for other people who are behind you. The first time in the history of Liberia that you have a government to take a realistic approach to harmonize the budget, to say, no, it's not good that the man who is working in the Ministry of Education as a minister make $200, and then the man who is working in foreign affairs make $1,000. Let us have a kind of, pendulum where the budgets of government officials will be equal and it will be fixed, and we'll know that this is what people are taking. This is the first time. The first time in the history of the Republic of Liberia that today you have the education sector that have been decentralized and have been improved, that even the people who said they were well educated could not. Look at the University of Liberia has been digitalized. Today, I will just need to go on my phone and register my brother just through the app of the University of Liberia. Now, when it comes to our candidate, this president has indeed demonstrated his willingness to empower women. Vote Sisi Polita Wie and vote Abu. These are the people that represent me and you. These are the common people. When you look at Sisi, all you see is a female that wants to empower other females. She has been doing it before, and she will continue to do it. If you look at Abu Kamara, he's a young man who understands what the young people go through on a daily basis. If he is elected, I am telling you that he will speak for you and will speak for me. That's part of our religion, our belief, or where we are. Do not vote for people who are academic escapees. Don't vote for people who are female abusers. Again, thank you. And thanks to Brother Dennis and the guests and everybody that we can come here and intellectually discuss. I am at all time at your disposal to come and provide the information. Thank you.
Thank you. And once again, thanks to all of you for joining us to share your opinions. I know sometimes it can get tense when we have differing opinions, but I'm grateful that you all are able to sit here on this platform and exchange your ideas. So thank you for being here. Dennis?
Again, thank you to our guests and the viewers watching. Next week, we're going to, for the entire month of July, we're going to devote that to talking more about Liberia. In fact, going forward, we want to devote July of every month to something that is similar to Liberian Heritage Month or Liberian Heritage Month or Liberian History Month, anything along those lines. So we're going to kickstart that next Monday by talking about Liberia. Topic 1 will be Liberian art and culture, and that will be done by Dr. Joe Tumo Bagba. Following that, on the next Sunday, we're going to have a panoramic view of the religious beliefs in Liberia, specifically Islam, Christianity, and traditional belief. And that will be done by someone who has his PhD in religion, Dr. Yang Kiawan Kaya. So keep tuned to Focus on Liberia. Our job here is to educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Once again, I want to say thank you to all of you for coming. We enjoy your participation. I know there was a coin toss at the end, and there was some displeasure. Nothing was deliberate, nothing was intentional. We're just trying to keep the balance because Liberia is the country that all of us love, and we must do our best to make that land the glorious land of liberty by God's command.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Good night, and God bless you.
God.
George, it is like